Okay. My bad. Hello, Horties. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever time it is where you're at. Lefty audio for a second there. That's okay. It do be that way sometimes. What's up, Baphomet? Hello. We got Nouvenol gameplay. Tali finally joined the website. Thank you so much for hanging out here. We got Spider, Cheez It Furball, and Violet. We got Andes. We got Peta G. Holy shit, there's so many people hanging out in chat this morning. Hell yeah. And of course, oh yep, we got Sisukara as well. And over in the YouTube chat, we got a couple of folks hanging out. We got Sweet Dream. There's Aaron and Spacer's Choice. Yeah, conservatives do enjoy thinking about children, though. It is true. And what's up, XXX? How we doing today? I am doing all right so far. I have been entertaining my younger sister. So oh yeah, it is afternoon. Well, I only woke up fairly recently. It's like I'm still waking in it's like my morning time, you know? Once again at work. Nice, Speedy Shimeji. Hopefully you all who are at work are still able to get your work done and not get in trouble hanging out in stream like this. So yeah, I have decided that I'm going to be more active in my siblings' lives, you know, my teenage siblings, and that involves like bringing them out to my place to stay over for the weekend. So that's like what I've been doing this weekend is my younger sister, who is going to be having a birthday next week. I was like, all right, I've like had my brother over here, but not so much with my sister. And I'm like, well, you know, she needs time away from home and like her own space and things like that too. So, and yeah, so it's just a lot of fun getting to kind of share this type of stuff that I'm interested in and talking to them about their views on politics. I think it's really healthy to interact with young people. Like, I have a nephew also who I've been having those kind of active conversations with since a younger age. Like, I haven't been as involved with my siblings, and now they're older. So yeah, I just think it's good. They have interesting perspectives on stuff, and I also think that if you're an adult with like nephews and nieces and stuff, if you're an adult who is a person who likes to play video games at all, I think you should make an effort to have conversations with the young people in your life about stuff like video games, like anime and stuff like that. Like if you're an adult who's into anime, or art is another big one. Kids are really into having adults who treat them like people. It's like fundamentally what it comes down to, right? Like I might not like be super invested in all the same things, but I can level with them on certain things that we have in common, right? You know, I don't play Fortnite or whatever, but if one of my nephews plays Fortnite, I will let him explain the game to me, you know, and like be like, oh yeah, that reminds me of this other game, you know? It really makes a big difference, I think, to their like lives and their mentalities and stuff. Number one victory royale, true. What's up, Jimmy Nails? How we doing today? My sister shut me out before I hit puberty and basically hasn't talked to me in the 17 plus years since. That seems random. Like, why? It seems like it was not a you problem at that point. It seems like more of a her problem. Oh, you know what? I made sure to get my coffee before I started, but I didn't make sure to get water, so I might have to do that in a second here. Oh my gosh. What's up, Near? How we doing? Video games are great for socializing in general. Yeah. Right, yeah, Hellhound. Humans enjoy being respected. Who would have guessed? It's, you know, I don't even think that it's necessarily that people are horrible to kids and teens, which they certainly are, but it's also about, I mean, they just live in a really different world. And so do I. I had this realization. I'm teaching myself how to play piano, right? And one of the things that I do in that is like I'm checking, I like to watch videos that are like 5 things that beginning piano players, like 5 mistakes that beginning piano players make and things like that. And I'll go watch those. And one of them was like, you need to keep your fingers low closer to the keys. Like some players have their fingers up and like dink their fingers down like this to play, but you should just kind of like have all your fingers on the keyboard like lightly touching the keys and then depress them from this position. And I was like, duh. Like, duh. But I only think that that's duh because I sit at a desk a lot of the time. And like, I realized that it's probably not actually a normal average skill that people like type on a keyboard a lot, you know? So you might be trying to teach yourself piano. Well, it's not just the body mechanic in this case. Like, I mean, like, maybe I would also be doing this if I hadn't had a typing course when I was in middle school, which I did. And that like gave me the ability to do that. And also I am the kind of person who's interested in things which require me to use the keyboard. Plenty of people just do this all day. Like plenty of people are just like all the time. And, you know, you would not learn like good posture for your hands. I mean, yeah, it seems obvious to me, but then here we all are using our keyboards, right? Yeah, 150 word PM motherfuckers be like, I think I'm right about 100. I'm at right about like 100 words per minute, which I feel that's pretty good, right? Like I don't need it to be much more than that. I'm not a writer. Anyway, but so I realized that I have like video games as my hobbies, and like that means that I have more in common with like a 12-year-old boy than probably most other adults in their life. You know what I mean? Like it's no fault of anyone that like older family members don't get what's going on in kids' lives, because interacting through the medium of video games is just super different. And it just results in you just live in two completely separate worlds. And I think even in healthy families, there's just like a sort of distance that you can bridge as like the cool aunt/uncle person. I'm not even sure how to come out about my they them pronouns. Yeah, that's a tough thing. You gotta like pick each person like and cater your coming out to each person, you know? I do feel like a lot of adults distance themselves from more childlike interests. That's probably fair as well. I think that's probably fair. Because there is a lot of pressure to act all grown up and stuff. And wasn't there an article just recently that was looking at toy sales and pointed out that that a certain percentage of toy sales were adults buying toys for themselves. And there was like discourse around it. Some people were like, I don't get this at all. Like, why would people be doing this? And there are other people who are like, well, yeah, if you couldn't get the stuff that you wanted when you were a child, like, just get it. I also think that a lot of children's media is more morally interesting than, I don't know, like something like Rick and Morty or Disenchantment. Did anyone watch Disenchantment? It was a Netflix show. I find myself watching them and being like annoyed after a while because I don't think the show really has anything to say. Does that make sense? Like, I love Avatar: The Last Airbender because it is morally complex and the characters like grow and change and develop. And I just feel sometimes when I'm watching adult media that I'm like, I don't understand what the point is. Ow. And yeah, we're talking adult cartoons a little bit. Yeah. Or I guess like adult media in general. Stuff that's made for kids does tend to be animated more often than not. I know Aaron got in the YouTube chat who says new Avatar soon, Earthbender. I don't know. I'm sure I'll watch it, okay? I'm sure that I'll watch it, but I'm not going to be happy about it. Because they really upset me with Korra. It was not a good show. You can only watch so much hurtful comedy before it hurts your soul. Right, like, what's the point? I guess that's fair, Jimmy Nails. I haven't watched Rick and Morty in a while. I'm willing to acknowledge that there might be more depth to the show. And also, I haven't seen the more recent seasons. I understand that they have started to be a little bit more critical of Rick's behavior in more recent seasons. So I just haven't caught up. And that's on me. I really liked Korra. It had its faults, but I will stand by it to the end. Like, I find it enjoyable at times. It just also ruined things about the canon. Like, there's stuff about, like, the bending and how that shit works and stuff that I really don't like even having theorizing conversations about that stuff anymore, because I have to take into consider fucking Rava, and I just don't want to. I'm so mad about it. I'm so salty. We're getting into Korra chat early. I know. It's been, it's been a few months, right? We haven't done a Korra rant since I moved in here, so it's been like a while. Jimmy Nails, I know that you're not supposed to like and identify with Rick. Okay, like, here, let's make the comparison, all right? You're also not supposed to like or identify with BoJack, but BoJack is a good show with something to say. And, like, I guess I'll need to go back and check it out again, but I never really felt like when I was watching Rick and Morty that there was a point to Rick being such a shitty person. Agreed, Violet Lane. I think season 3 of Korra is, it does not make up for how bad season 2 was, but it really is, like, a good season of a show. Like, I like that. The anarchist villain, like, I think they did a pretty okay job. They did not represent the communist position very well in season 1, for sure. But I think Zahir was, like, the closest thing to a relatable anarchist villain that I've seen. You know? Quote-unquote bad characters that you're meant to identify with but also are explicitly shitty people and are treated as such by the show are cool, honestly. Yeah, actually, I guess, like, you kind of are meant to identify with BoJack. I retract what I said. You aren't really supposed to like him, but you are supposed to identify with him. Like, which is why the ending of season 3 of that show is so difficult and painful to deal with, right? I think would be really funny is having I think I have, I talk about some of the same media as, like, Vosh, but everybody universally says that Vosh has bad media opinions. What if we did, like, a media opinion debate? I'm joking. I don't think that that's ever going to actually come to fruition. I just had the thought and I needed to share it because that's what ADHD is. Waves in communist. What's up, Morningstar System? As someone who loves Korra and found the Avatar wand stuff the highlight of a horrible season, I don't like how it changes things. I just found it a relief from the rest of the season. I think, like, the cutaway, the wand part is really interesting. And, like, I like that they included the parts where they do learn, like, quote unquote, how to firebend from the dragons. I just think that it's a retcon. Like, I don't know. Yeah. It's sort of implied by saying that, like, we learned how to earthbend from the badger moles and we learned how to firebend from the dragons. It makes it seem like something that they imparted, like, on a fundamental level, and not just that, like, you got some magic power from, like, a lion turtle and then you were able to do the physical thing but not, like, skillfully. Like, I just think it's a really irritating retcon. And I also don't like the Rava thing, like, and I also don't like that they killed off all the previous Avatar spirits. That fucking sucks. They're both tropes. The inherited generational, like, hive mind thing is a trope, and breaking the hive mind is a trope, and I get that. Like, breaking the lineage, that doesn't make me less angry about it. Your media takes couldn't be worse than his. That's what I mean. I would like win that debate, right? BoJack was almost painfully relatable for me, kind of like Dexter too, because before I started HRT, I was super lost in social situations. Yeah, like, you know, if you've, you know, XXX probably knows what I'm talking about. At the end of season 3, there's like a really difficult conversation between BoJack and his friend Todd. And when I first watched the show, that's all that there was. Like there wasn't any more of the show to watch on Netflix. So that's where I ended off with it. And I was like really, really hurt and upset by it. Oh yeah, spoilers for Korra, I guess. True Nuvenal though. Yeah, they killed all the alters. That's exactly what happened. I empathize with season 5 and season 6 Rick, but season 1 through 4 Morty more. Okay, that makes sense. Morty just wants to feel useful and is abused by Rick as a result. Oh, we're talking about House as well. House is like a super unlikable person, right? The Avatar is technically a non-binary system canonically. Is that how that works? Would you call a whole system, like if it's comprised of several different genders of people, like would you call that a non-binary system? Because I know each individual host for the Avatar, at least, you know, is like mostly alone. And only like interacts with the alters when they really actively choose to. You know what I mean? Okay. I guess I would expect to hear a term more like multi-gender systems. Like that makes more sense to me than calling it a non-binary system. I'm just telling you how it sounds to my ear. Obviously, I can't tell you what like the correct way of approaching that is. I just like multi-gender. I'm like, oh no, that makes more sense to describe what you're trying to describe. Like non-binary system makes it sound like all of you are non-binary. You know what I mean? Which I guess might be true. You could be multi-gender and non-binary in that sense. If I were to guess, gender probably is meaningless for the Avatar spirit, but the gender aspect would come from the person who takes on that spirit. Yeah, like I don't think, like Rava has like a feminine voice, but I don't think that she is like really female for the purposes of this discussion. We describe ourselves as non-binary collectively for convenience. That makes sense? Oh, let's take a little sippy sip with coffee. Coffee's delicious. What a great way to start the day. Yum. So yeah, we get some media takes out of the way today. Crazy how nobody questions that the Avatar can be so many people and genders, but Korra and Asami holding hands in literally the last shot of LOK causes huge outrage. You know, it's because you're able to suspend your disbelief for the magic system, you know? The collective they, them for us is because most of us are okay with they, them. Hand-holding is too far. Yeah, hand-holding is lewd and lascivious. You're doing it for the prurient appeal. I can't participate in the chat conversation about House because I have never seen House. Magic, cool. Gays, too far. Well, because magic is cool. And gays are not, apparently. According to the conference of the community. Yeah. I'm glad that you all are having fun. Because I don't know anything about House. What about magical gaze? It is a trope, isn't it? Like the magical gaze thing. I can't argue with that, you know? It's an institution. Watch House if you want an extremely good show that is also extremely frustrating. Yeah, it sounds like a bad time. It just doesn't sound like a good time to me. Some people say all, quote, mental difference is a form of diversity and others limit it specifically to autism. I think one time I found myself on the blog of a person who, as far as I could tell, was the first person to use the term neurodivergent. And her intention was for it to include like mental illness and autism and stuff. But it's been a long time since I looked into this. I generally just use the term neurodiverse to mean like all of those things. I love Sherlock and Sherlock-inspired media, so I should probably watch House. Yeah, I mean, it is allegedly a really good Sherlock adaptation. Because also Sherlock is an asshole, right? Sherlock is like on cocaine and also an asshole. So, yeah, I mean, makes sense to me. It's sort of like how gender diverse means different things to different people. Some people would say that drag and tomboys are gender diverse, since gender presentation is a part of gender for some folks. That's true. Isn't Sherlock a heroin/opiate addict? Was it heroin? Or was it... I thought it was cocaine. But I haven't read Sherlock in a fucking long time, so I don't know. Neurodivergent and neurodiverse are different things. Well, neurodiverse refers to a group, and neurodivergent refers to an individual. Because an individual can't be neurodiverse. That's not what the word diverse means. It was morphine. Okay, House is a heroin addict. Sherlock is cocaine. Yeah, that's what yeah, okay, right? Anyway, I felt like I was about to go on a whole tangent, and then I got roped back into what chat was saying, and I don't know. I was about to go on a tangent, and I don't know what it was. What's up? Haven't caught your stream in a minute. Erica from YouTube. Cool. Welcome in. I'm on this schedule now, so it's predictable at least. I know that not everybody's work schedule is going to correspond appropriately. Some people just are at work while they're hanging out with us here. I have a salad. Ooh, yummy. I ate some lunch meat earlier. I probably should have eaten more before stream, but I'm not too worried about it. I'll deal with it this afternoon. Neurodiverse refers to the whole neurodiversity and also includes neurotypicals. It's like human beings are neurodiverse. Okay. I mean, that's convincing. Yeah, generally I would say I agree with Violet that these words are just tools to help people find community. So it's not as important what the terms mean as whether they're useful for finding community. That makes sense. Oh, I was about to go on the queer, I was about to go out on the queer, what does that word actually mean? Why was I going to do that though? That's okay. We're going to work our way backwards now. Now I realize I was about to go on the tangent about what queer means, but whatever the thing was in chat that made me think that is gone now. I mean, yes, there was the queer discourse. I've talked about briefly on stream already that like I got banned from r/non-binary on Reddit. People can have different definitions and still be on the same side generally. Apparently not on Reddit. We learned recently. Why you got banned? I got banned because I believe... thanks, Decoy Duck. I appreciated that. Because I was making the argument that queer is sometimes can be, it's just shorthand for LGBTQIA+, but primarily it is a political term to describe like an individual's anti-assimilationist approach to their personal politic, and also it is a term that describes a like a politically cohesive group on the basis of the way that they are punished for not adhering to cis heteropatriarchy. And the moderator was firmly like, no, queer only means LGBTQ+, QIA plus, and then they banned me for supposedly using alts to manipulate votes or making false reports, which is a lie. Like, they just made up an excuse to ban me for a difference of opinion. My only political decision is all of my delusions are objectively real and correct. True. Hello, Rose. Welcome in. So you think it's closer to an umbrella for gender conformity rather than gender identity slash sexual orientation? I mean, it's about assimilation, and it doesn't just have to do with gender either. Like, Pete Buttigieg is a gay man who openly has said that if he could have chosen to make himself not gay, he would do that. And, like, all he wants is to uphold the neoliberal, like, system and have a white picket fence and a nuclear family with his also white husband. You know what I mean? Like, I don't think that Pete Buttigieg is gay. He's gay, but he's not queer. You know what I mean? Like, you can be LGBT and not queer. And it's not just a matter of my opinion. In some cases, you have people like Kat Black, who she is a trans woman, but she has passed for all of her adult life. And, like, she started transitioning, at least in the way that she dressed, when she was a teenager. And she's a straight woman. And because she's an assimilationist, basically. I mean, she's an alternative goth girl and kinky and stuff. But, like, as far as her gender and sexuality and stuff, like, she considers herself not to be queer. And then on the other side of that, so if there are LGBT people who don't identify themselves as queer for political reasons, then we must acknowledge that it's a political term. And then on the other side of that coin, you have, like, gender nonconforming people, for example, like people who do drag, or like femboys. If those people are being hurt by patriarchy in the same way as LGBT people, then, and if those people are, like, similarly aligned in the way of, like, they're politically transgressing and want to like challenge and change the status quo, I think that those people could be considered under the umbrella of queerness. Well, yeah, but there's a difference between passing and assimilating, Mama Mephistopheles. And, like, as far as I can tell, you know, Kat Black spends most of her life around, like, heterosexual cultures. Like, she doesn't try to be around queer culture and people. Like, she is passing and fine with assimilating into, I'm not going to say mainstream culture, because she is in a very particular subculture, with her, like, again, the alternative and the kinky, whatever. But you could pass and still be like, I'm going to do queer activism, you know? I don't think I can agree, Jimmy Nails. Okay, I've heard that called woodworking, as in a bug hiding in the woodwork, and I think that doing that for any reason aside from immediate safety is deplorable. I think that we should have the option to just not have to deal with the political reality of being trans, I guess. I don't know. I just feel like it's not fair to say every single one of us needs to be an activist and be out and be visible. Like, it's fucking exhausting. I've turned this into my life. You know what I mean? Like, being openly trans and talking about this stuff is my job. And that's not reasonable. And before it was my job, it felt like my job, basically, to be constantly explaining these things to people and, like, because I felt that pressure so much, it's like, well, I've gotten really good at communicating on this subject, so I guess I will just focus up on making this my main thing. And I just feel like you should have the option to just be an artist or to just be a fucking accountant, right? I feel like personal responsibility in a fucked up world ignores systemic contradictions that create mixed responses to a mixed world. I mean, people are going to have wildly different interactions with the world. Some people are going to get stronger and some people are going to want to run away. Some people are going to want to avoid being noticed. It's like, okay, so let me rephrase this another way. Jimmy Nails, if you say that, like, you're talking about a transitioned person, right? Like, when you say we owe it to future trans youth not to assimilate, we need to be visible, and hiding in the woodwork is deplorable if your safety is not at risk, right? Like, what about people who haven't transitioned yet? Like, if you think that there's a moral duty for a passing trans person to openly talk about being trans and make that a big part of their life instead of, like, just letting themselves be down low, do you also believe that a trans person who knows they're trans but hasn't transitioned yet is, like, morally obligated to talk about it and transition? Like, maybe it won't threaten their safety, but maybe they know that their spouse will divorce them or something, you know? Like, do you think that they're morally transgressing in that way? Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, yeah, wanting to hide in the woodwork now, considering the anti-trans rhetoric, yeah, that makes sense. But I mean, sometimes people just want to fucking move to a new city and start over. Also, fighting is exhausting and disabled people exist. That's true. I mean, yeah, I am somewhat disabled, but it's not as bad as it could be, for sure. Anyway, we're going to take a little sippy sip. I'm extremely disabled. Yep. Love that cup. Yes. That's like, I accidentally flinged some tomato soup on it earlier. That's my bad. I'm only talking about passing trans people, and I am also not talking about it being a big part, just a part at all. Yeah, I mean, like, Kat Black does talk about, she's not, like, pretending she's not trans on the internet. In the end, we all want to live our lives without conflict. It's just a shame the more conservative side feels that they're under attack from this. I don't think that they actually feel that they're under attack from this. I think that they are deliberately using trans people as the scary scapegoat for their fascist takeover. I don't know if you've been here, Tali. We've talked about this a few times, but I can always go into detail about it. How do you take your coffee other than decaf? I have, like, the it's like Irish cream or Italian cream, I can't remember, creamer, and I pour some creamer in the cup, and then I pour coffee in the cup, and that's it, because the creamer is sweet, and that's pretty much how I drink my coffee. You know, the conservatives are malicious. I do believe that they're malicious. It's a pretty effective repeat of the 90s homophobia boom, according to my partner who lived through it. Oh, for sure. I think that it's exactly the same as this conversion therapy approach and this groomer bullshit. The great thing about the 90s is that there is some actual like video evidence and stuff of how they would talk about gay people. I'm actually mostly new to the political side. Nice. Yeah, for the past year since I've been doing this on a regular basis, we've been regularly talking about the ongoing attempts to destroy trans life in the United States, and talking about the reasons and the various approaches that they're going with. So it's very obvious that it's the same type of rhetorical situation as in pre-Nazi Germany, you know? Yeah, Mephistopheles says, what kind of world are we trying to build? One where being trans is okay and just doesn't matter. A person who is stealth or assimilated is embodying a small piece of that vision. It's not like they're having an easy time themselves. It's not privileged per se. They just have different problems, and if we aren't fighting for them too, then we're not doing a good job. I agree with that. Like the goal, like I don't think any of you actually want conflict. Someone earlier, I saw the comment kind of like, whew, go by. I know that what you want is a just world, and therefore, in order to achieve a just world, you want the conflict to continue, because if the conflict doesn't continue, then it means like you lost, right? But like that doesn't, like, what you want isn't to be engaged in conflict. What you want is the result, which is ultimately like a world where we are not experiencing conflict because of these specific things, right? Exactly, Dark Canuck. Every cause needs a boogeyman. The right has to give their followers someone to hate. I mean, like, so, like, they're very explicitly using trans people to circumvent the democratic process, you know? Something Bo, the fifth column, talked about is that we have time travel movies where a tiny change affects the future dramatically, but we never think that a tiny change we make now will dramatically affect the future. True. Yeah, Gay in Play says, I don't want to live in this world of fear and conflict and dehumanization, especially because disabled people are very often the ones caught in the crossfire once it escalates to violence. It doesn't matter what minority it is, it's to hate someone. Yeah, I mean, and ideally you can have multiple different minority groups to pin the blame on, because maybe not everyone hates trans people, but some of those people who don't hate trans people do think that we have too many immigrants, quote unquote. So there's like, I mean, you know, and it's also true of the Holocaust that it wasn't just the Jews. Like, they were also against gay people and trans people and disabled people and Romani. Want to make sure to acknowledge those folks. Because gay people and Romani, like gay and trans people and Romani, are the ones who have like still not gotten any reparations for their treatment during the Holocaust. And I think Romani and gay people and trans people were jailed after being freed from camps because it was, you know, the laws were still criminalizing their existence. Ba-da, ba-da, ba-da-da. My voice is real deep today. It's one of those mornings where it's like, this is like what your voice is like when you wake up at 5 a.m. just randomly, and you're like, oh, I guess I'm just going to be awake at 5 a.m. But normally it clears up after a couple hours, and it's not, so that's cool, though. True. Yeah, exactly. Like, it's crazy how you can liberate a concentration camp and then be like, oh yeah, some of those people were supposed to be here. I think gay people deserve reparations just for the handling of the AIDS epidemic. Oh yeah, no, agreed. Our list of grievances is long and detailed. Like, the United States government, I don't think has formally apologized. And Duncom, welcome to the website, chat. Also, reactionaries are using the same Nazi rhetoric of, quote, protecting and securing children. Yes. And they did specifically believe, the Nazis did, that gay people recruited among children, that there is no such thing as an intrinsically gay person. Like, if you are gay, it's because someone made you to be that way. People forget Americans arrested gay and trans people that were, quote, rescued from the Holocaust. I don't know that I've ever actually heard that specific fact. I think in some cases, an outwardly peaceful society is more harmful in the long run than one in which a conflict is fighting for justice. I do think that it's a common strain in dystopian fiction that a peaceful society is only like that because of like some extreme amount of dictatorship and violence, like of a concentrated government power that's maintaining order. The website is luxander.net. It's the top link in the description over there on YouTube. If you're on YouTube right now, first of all, hit like on the stream, please. We're hanging out, but we're going to get to talking about the news here in a little bit. Let's see. But for now, we're still going to chill out for another 10 minutes or so. But yeah, if you're in the YouTube chat, hit the like button and then come over to the website chat. Luxander.net/live, where you can get custom emojis. This is how you can support the show financially. I don't have super chats on YouTube because YouTube takes 30% off the top. So if you want to support the show directly, you can do that through the website. Get yourself a special colored name and some custom emojis. Ooh, custom emojis. That trope is a criticism of the, quote, peace of many Western countries mostly. Yeah, I think it's a criticism of like peace under an actually like fascist rule. Yes, dicks. Come over here and enjoy the dicks. Excuse me. Oh, okay, we have an article about the gay prisoners in Germany. See, this is a fact check from 2018. It is true. Gay men who were incarcerated in Nazi concentration camps during World War II were forced back into prison even after the Allied forces had won the conflict. There are some numbers estimated of 15,000 gay people being incarcerated in Nazi concentration camps. Unclear how many died. The pink triangle. Yeah, that's wasn't it Laverne Cox who straight up the other day when we were watching that interview with her on stream, didn't she straight up point out the pink triangle thing? I felt seen for the first time in years. I wish that I had more time to edit. It's terrible because you'll make plans to like take your teenage sibling to hang out with you for a weekend, and then that's the weekend that you feel like, you know what, I could really be getting a lot of editing done. It's like, God damn it. Why does this not strike me like at 10 a.m. on any other day of the week? It's annoying. Confusing peace with quiet. Yes. That's an interesting thing. What's up, Venusian? How we doing? Dicks are amazing. Yes, and she also talked about the Hirschfeld Institute. There was no We're Live announcement. Oh, I fucked it up. That's my bad. That's my bad. That's my bad. I was pouring my coffee right at the last minute, so I'm just dumb. I'll do it now. My bad. Hey, Sasha Larius, how we doing today? No negative self-talk. Lux bad. I know, I'm bad. Dragon bad. Good to see her bringing that piece of history to the mainstream. Right. I do think that it's kind of a deliberate... It's like a deliberate brainwashing, I believe, that's been slowly ongoing for a long time. They're being much more overt now about, oh, we don't want to teach about these certain things in school. But in reality, they already didn't teach us about gay persecution during the Holocaust. I had to find that shit out when I was an adult. Like, I don't think, at least I'm pretty sure, like, maybe it was mentioned offhandedly, but I truly feel like that's the kind of thing that I learned because I just happened to also be on the internet at the same time. What's up, Shade? How we doing? I've been writing music all week. Oh my god, that's awesome, Sasha Larius. I am learning music theory and teaching myself how to play piano right now, and I love it. Suzukara says, I found a trans woman group which specifically says no men, but they do not say either way for non-binary people. You would think a trans group would realize to not just do what sissies do when it comes to gender. Yeah, I mean, they do not say either way. I mean, yeah, I guess that's an interesting question. Just like not noticing. Bless the internet. I watched Inside for the first time in a while yesterday because my sister was over and I was like, oh, you've listened to some of the songs, but you've never actually watched the thing. Like, we should watch the whole thing. So you said, bless the internet. And I was like, welcome to the internet. Come and take a seat. Like, that's just going to be stuck in my head now for a little while. Wait, what S word did I say? I'm having a big ADHD moment, so I'm having a hard time, like, keeping track of my thoughts. I'm just doing my best. Doing my best. That song is still stuck in my head all the time. It's such a good song. And a bunch of colored pencil drawings of all the different characters from Harry Potter fucking each other. Welcome to the internet. Indeed, like the stream. Oh my gosh. I'm gonna have to grab myself a little bit of water here in a sec. I realized that is how the world works is the most trans boy voice song that I've ever heard from Bo Burnham. Hydrate or dihydrate. Oh my god, do it. Do it, do it, do it, do it, do it. Unstable Smurfette says, I am German. 1/3 of our curriculum is focused on the Holocaust, and yet they never mentioned queer people. Unsurprising. I also didn't learn about the Romani until I was an adult. They just don't bother to teach you that stuff. Bo Burnham has T-boy swag. His voice, doesn't he? His singing voice. Him have T-boy voice. Need to get a pink triangle pin, TBH. I just don't think anybody fucking knows what it means. Some Poles and Ukrainians in the Holocaust. Yeah, those, I guess I always thought that Polish people were persecuted just because they were like, that there were Jewish people in Poland and Ukraine. Anyway, take a little sippy sip. The Slavs were also considered enemies to the Reich. Oh, okay, so like them being Slavic. It was a racial thing, right? Like functionally, it's like it's kind of like the same as them targeting Romani because it's a racial group. Okay. And the unfortunate result now is a bunch of people who think that only Jews get to talk about genocide. Oh my god. That conversation with the trans genocide panel was so fucking stupid. Zonia was so fucking stupid during that thing. Thank you. I love this mug. I learned about the Holocaust, including queer people, the disabled, and Roma, and I think I've learned it in my German school. Okay. It's not consistent, the education on this. And in America, for sure, not consistent and not good enough. There's a reason Okay, so here, I'm going to read both of these comments together. Nazi ideology considered it all one big enemy. Jews, Slavs, queer people, communists, all of the same global enemy to the Nazis. It's why arguing that, quote, the Nazis could have won if they didn't do the Holocaust misunderstands the point. The Holocaust was part of their war by its very nature. Yeah, I mean, like, that's what this kind of political thing always, like, goes toward. This type of authoritarianism and nationalism and striving toward purity of the nation, it, like, fascism is genocidal. Like, this is not a perfectly correct view. I'm not someone who has studied these things in depth. I'm just a fucking idiot with a trade degree. But I think that fascism is kind of inherently genocidal. It just, yeah, and it goes to show how stratified, quote, white people are, and that genocide will just keep targeting more and more specific groups because fascism always requires an enemy. They want to keep concentrating the power into smaller and smaller groups. Here's a clip of the last gay Holocaust survivor, died in his 90s. Holy shit.
I never forget.
Oh, stop. This is the kind of thing that I would like to do an actual segment on, but I haven't, like, prepared. This would have been good to include in my broader video that I did, which was, like, the Nazi views on homosexuality. Did I ever upload that? I'm like, did that get lost in the mix? Because I did do a whole stream focusing on that subject. I'm just a little ding-doo. Dingus-wingus. Getting my tabs figured out here. Quote, fascism is genocidal. True. See you later, Andes. A lot of invoking Jewish people to downplay fascism and incoming genocide is done by people who aren't Jewish, and it fucking shows. I don't think that any Jewish people... I mean, I guess Zonia... She was saying, like, some of my family members were persecuted, and I guess she has, like, some facial features that I could see being associated with Jewishness. So, like, maybe she's, like, one of those very few Jews who thinks that only Jewish people can be subject to genocide. I've become a streamer who talks shit. I'm just realizing. I'm like, I talk a lot of shit. Why would you say something so controversial yet so brave? Why? I hated that debate. I had fun for the first, like, hour and a half, and then I stopped having as much fun. Excuse me. Excuse me again. IDK, how anyone can seriously say only one group is capable of being genocided. It's silly on its face. Well, I was over-exaggerating in a shit-posting manner, and I was thinking while I was saying it, ooh, this could get clipped out of context, and someone's gonna think that I was being serious. I don't think that these type of people believe that only Jewish people can be subject to genocide, but I do think that because Jewish people are painted to be the primary target of the genocide during the Holocaust. And as we've been saying, these other groups are not acknowledged. And, like, it was very seriously bad being gassed and shit, that by comparison to what happened to Jews back then, it's really, they consider it really silly to now be like, trans people who are not yet being put in camps and gassed are silly for pointing out that this is a ramp up toward that level of persecution. So the way that it comes across, though, is like, oh, okay, so, like, do you think Jewish people are the... What it really comes across is like, oh, do you think that Jewish people, because they were genocided at one point, are now the gatekeepers who get to decide. Like, if some few Jewish people think that trans people are over exaggerating, like, and some Jewish people think, oh no, it's very obvious that you're being the scapegoat group in the same way that we were. Like, okay, but why do they get to decide? My mom is definitely one of those very few Jewish people who misses the totality of everything that happened in the Holocaust and only notices what happened to Jews. Like, everybody's got their own group, their own subgroup to worry about. I guess you could also be the kind of woman who is only focused on women's rights. And like, that's like what makes white feminism a distinct phenomenon, because they don't care about other types of women. And I just think it's less effective that way. It's easier if I say, yeah, racism is fucked up and we should talk about police brutality on stream, which we should do more often, and also talk about my own issues. And then for black people to be like, hey, black trans women are one of the most targeted groups, so we need to focus on helping trans people because that hurts black people as a whole as well, Like, we should be focusing on helping each other's issues. Oh yeah, the destruction of Black Wall Street. Of course they don't teach this. Yeah, it's for sure like a deliberate erasure and making it seem like, oh no, it's not so bad. The things that we've done are not so bad. It was a suburb of Tulsa. It was a community of African Americans attempting to reclaim and rebuild. It was modern, majestic, sophisticated, and unapologetically black. Tragically, it was also the site of one of the bloodiest and most horrendous race riots and acts of terrorism that the United States has ever experienced. Wow, it's been like over 100 years now. It's been 102 years almost since up to 300 African Americans lost their lives, and more than 9,000 were left homeless when the small town was attacked, looted, and literally burned to the ground beginning in 1921. Yeah, so it was like a whole community. I didn't know if there were going to be photos. I guess it was long enough ago that there wouldn't have been easily accessible photography. I don't remember what year cameras happened. It seems almost imagined when we examine this community through a historical lens. Tulsa, like many cities and towns throughout the U.S., was hostily segregated, with African Americans settling into the northern region of the city. As we often saw prior to integration, the black people in the area created entrepreneurial opportunities for themselves, which housed an impressive business center, including banks, hotels, cafes, clothiers, movie theaters, and contemporary homes. Greenwood residents enjoyed many luxuries that their white neighbors did not, including indoor plumbing and a remarkable school system that superiorly educated black children. And in an act of envy and a vow to put progressive, high-achieving African Americans in their place, this led the way to much terrorism, violence, and dispossession amongst African Americans during that era. A young white woman accused a young black man of attempted sexual assault, which gave local mobs and white men acting as police just cause to invade the unsuspecting community. It was like a sacking of a town, essentially. Like, they sacked the town. So, moving on from that. At least moving on from that article. I know, starting drama with the fascist community. How will fascists respond? Well, I was... Yeah. Oh, wait, someone mentioned Xenia Jones? I know Xenia Jones. Like, I know Xenia personally. Not, like, closely or whatever, but I've known Xenia for, like, 10 years. Like, if I saw her out and about, I think we would recognize each other. But she lives in fucking Florida, so... We have a saying that means beware the beginnings, meaning that it is not enough to get outraged when the camps are being built or the books are being burned. You need to see the warning signs. Exactly, Unstable Smurfette. And this is why, like, I just think it's really interesting. Has there ever been another time in history where you look, where, like, people have been like, oh, a genocide is gonna come soon? Like, is there any point in history where people have been like, I'm pretty sure that this is gonna happen? They had cameras during the Civil War. I just don't know how common they were. Like, I don't know how easily accessible they were at any particular point in history. Like, when did it become normal to just have cameras, like, out and about capturing events? Do you know what I mean? My favorite thing about gerrymandering is that it's named after a dude and a salamander. Is it like it was Jerry was the name of the guy, and then like the because the first like obviously gerrymandered district, or like when they decided to name it, it was literally like in the shape of a salamander, wasn't it? Has there been any point in history in which a genocide was prevented? I mean, that's the question, right? Yeah, so his name was Elbridge Jerry, and it was shaped like a salamander. That's funny. What's up, Soy Boy? How we doing today? Photographs were for the wealthy and were very staged in the 1860s. Yeah, so by 1921, when the city of Greenwood is sacked by the neighboring whites from Tulsa, I'm imagining that cameras still weren't like a personal thing that you would just have around, like getting photos of like a riot happening. You know what I mean? There is a photo of the city on fire. Ooh. My history nerd shit just really popped off. This is Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921, during a wave of racial violence, destroying this African-American community, which was seen as a threat to white-dominated American capitalism. I'm glad that so many different sources acknowledged like that this was specifically an act of envy. But yeah, this is Tulsa, Oklahoma, during the race riots, and this is commonly referred to as a massacre. The photos from the Library of Congress. This was like the level that photography was at the time, which is to say, like, still pretty grainy, still black and white, obviously. You, I imagine, would need to have time to set up your camera to do this. So, wowee. The importance of the Civil War was that the photos brought home the dead in a way that they had never before. Yeah, I can see that for sure. I mean, yeah, true. It is also highly unlikely that any white person would have taken pictures of the riot. But the thing is that Greenwood was an affluent place, so I could see black people having cameras. Oh my god, I am having so crampy. Ugh, oh my god. Not just setup, but exposure time. That's true also. The actually exposing it to the light to get an image. Ouch. I will say, I don't know that there were very many white people present for these riots who weren't actively perpetrating the violence. Have you watched the extra history video on the Tulsa riots? I don't know. I probably have not, actually. Let me... Yeah, I don't think I have. But it's on the list now. I'll keep that tab open. The problem is that the decent white people in the past, much like black people, were erased from history to spread race propaganda. Why do I respond to mouth clicks like a cat? You've been trained, clearly. So we've been just kind of faffing about, talking about whatever comes to mind. I did have some plans stream today. My mouth stopped working for a minute there. But I think it's good to cover racial history stuff because we focus a lot on trans issues here. So I just think it's probably a good idea to branch out a little bit and talk about other shit sometimes. Did someone post a link to something else for me? Yes. It's been less than 40 years since Philadelphia police dropped bombs from a helicopter on the the 1985 Move bombing. Yeah. The destruction of residential homes in the Osage neighborhood of Philadelphia, Pennsylvania by the Philadelphia Police Department during a standoff and firefight with the radical communal organization Move. From a helicopter, police dropped 2 explosive devices onto the roof of a house occupied by Move. In 1985? Wow. That's crazy. Has Lux been clicker training us this whole time? Not intentionally. Is the stream dono through PayPal? Yes, it is. PayPal is very consistent for us, and it doesn't charge too many fees, especially compared to like YouTube. So you can donate directly and support the show through the website. Ooh, website. Yeah, what is that one called? What is that emoji called? Buff. True. Excuse me. I'm so burpy today. All those old photos of empty cities aren't empty at all. It's just that everyone is walking too fast to show up in the photo. There are more people of color in jail for nonviolent drug crimes than there were slaves. So like more people of color specifically, not just looking at the prison population in general. That's crazy. And like almost all prisoners, as far as I understand it, are utilized as slave labor. Like they get paid pennies on the dollar. And it's not like inflation doesn't also impact like prison prices. Like the commissary in the prison also can have price fluctuations that can't be borne by the work that they're doing for the fucking pennies on the dollar prison labor. And it's not that America is the only country with that issue, because China does it too. Yeah. Because cats are harder to train, are cat subs technically more bratty compared to puppy subs? It's just that cat subs, much like cats, can only be trained through positive reinforcement. Whereas puppies can be trained by punishing them as well as rewarding them. PayPal acting up. Oh, shit, that sucks. I'm sorry. Sorry, you can't donate to me. That's not what I meant. I'm a cat sub and can confirm I am very bratty. I think someone was having an issue doing a donation through the website before as well. I just am not sure how to address that. It's almost as though all authoritarian regimes like putting people in prisons. What? I actually am a bunny sub, which is still on the cat end of the spectrum. Is a bunny is just like a subtype of cat? Is that how it works? I sometimes try to be bratty because it's fun, but then puppy brain says nope. I'm jealous of you silly billies. With my living alone ass self. Baby bunnies are called kits. That's adorable. So are fox babies. Fox babies are called kits. Anyway, so the kind of stuff that I had in mind for today was the Cora to genocide to kitten pipeline. There was a 17-year-old woman talking about seeing a trans person in a YMCA locker room, and I wanted to make fun of her. We were going to do it last time, but then we ended up talking about the anti-drag bills instead. Thank you to the person in chat who requested that we talk about that. And the other thing that I want to talk about today, I'm sure that there are other things that we could get to as well. I have other shit in my list. I could browse Twitter a little bit more. We're going to talk about Hunter Avalon. Because this is going to be, we're going to use this as a jumping off point, because Hunter Avalon has been like doubling down on anti-xenogender takes on Twitter the last couple days. So we're going to do a little bit of stupid drama and queer education, reacting to at least a couple of the clips that Hunter posted on Twitter. Yeah. So those are kind of like the things that I have planned for today. Yeah, xenogenders and neopronouns, my beloved. True. I don't think I've ever talked about Hunter Avalon, and I don't know a lot about him. I remember back in the day when I was watching Vosh on like a super regular basis, I remember him interviewing Hunter Avalon about Hunter being like a reformed conservative, basically. Because Hunter had grown a YouTube audience by being a conservative and like being a reactionary and stuff. And then, yeah, like actually his career like took a bit of a dip when he politically realized that he didn't believe in that shit anymore. And I respected that. But it also seems to me like fundamentally Hunter is still kind of reactionary about some stuff. But I also don't think it's an uncommon perspective. So I don't want to get into it too deeply here, because we might set that one up as an actual little seggy. Hunter Avalon is a DGG tier lib, and he beefed with Keffels because she got very reasonably upset at him for accidentally doxing her in the middle of a huge wave of harassment. I remember that. I think he did not respond to that situation appropriately. I don't think so. If I remember correctly, Hunter was a conservative who actually believed in the shit rather than just seeing it as a means to an end, and then was actually argued out of being a conservative by having some integrity and following the evidence. Maybe we'll try to be nice in the response that we have, so that some wonderful Horty can send him the video, and maybe we can try to convince him. But I doubt it. I'm usually not operating under the impression that I'm going to convince the person that I'm talking to, or like talking about, either way. The Keffels thing made me feel like he felt backed into the corner and then turned aggressive instead of accepting blame. I mean, that's kind of how people react when they know that they fucked up. Is like, oh, well, it wasn't even that bad what I did. Like, it's just... And like, when you're a person who's like, no, I know that I'm right that you fucked up. Like, there's no... I don't really feel... I think this is an autism thing. I feel like I have a hard time being like, oh yeah, it's not that bad. You know, I can forgive you. Like, without there being like a, hey, you need to own up to what you've done. Like, I don't like forgive people. I will forget things. I might even choose to forget things, but I don't forgive shit. Unless there's actual repentance and if you are defensive initially, like apologizing and recognizing after you realized you've had a big reaction. Basically, he's the outlier that proves the rule that you can't convince somebody with evidence. Wait, what? I don't know what Hunter Avalon's audience is like either. Ooh, maybe we'll do this first. Thought I had to burp. Hold on. I'm so gassy today. All right. Oh, there we go. Okay, I'm gonna grab a water really fast. You all should grab a water if you don't already have one. We're gonna segue into talking about this. Well, let me make sure it's... Okay, we'll read this Reddit post and see if we have a response to it. Yeah, gas stream. True. Oh, also, Zan had a debate with Hunter over neopronouns over a year ago. Sucks that Hunter still hasn't learned. I wonder what his arguments are like now. I didn't see that when it happened. That's an hour-long conversation, though. We're not going to watch it on stream, especially not with it being a year old. If we you know, we're going to watch Hunter Avalon's content. Lux creating enough gas to drive down gas prices? I don't think so. That would be impressive. Didn't Robin Williams have an entire bit in his stand-up about that? Like eating a bunch of burritos and using methane to power your car? I don't know. Anyway, I'm going to grab some water and be back in a second. Okay? Be good. My pillow all fallen over because I had a guest who was sitting on my fucking chair. If there isn't already pronouns, there should be a thing. I guess. Hold on. Yeah, I had my sibling over this weekend. Did that work? Okay, cool. Hey, how are you, Gorge? Hi, Christy. How are you doing today? Okay, we're gonna look at this. Yeah, so we're gonna look at this Reddit post really fast since someone posted it and I want to read it. I want to reward you all for sending me things to respond to. Hit like on the stream if you haven't already, because we're enjoying hanging out here today. Eventually, we're going to talk about more newsy news, but you like being here for the chill times, don't you? You enjoy it. It's cozy time, all right? So what steps can I take to help my daughter realize that her actions were wrong? She was active in, quote, TERF communities and aggressively bullied a transgender classmate. All right, yeah, this is an Ask LGBT. My apologies if this doesn't belong here. Please tell me if I should remove it. If you are triggered by mentions of violence, suicide attempt, sexual harassment, and transphobia, then I recommend moving to a different post. Little content warning up top. My husband, quote, John and I have always considered ourselves to be LGBT allies and have raised our kids to support LGBT rights as well. However, we recently discovered that our daughter, quote, Madison, she is 16, was the ringleader in a violent bullying campaign against, quote, Kelly, a transgender classmate that sadly attempted to take her own life as a result of the bullying. After looking through Madison's text messages and social media, we were disgusted to find texts of her harassing Kelly, asking if she still had her genitals and telling her she will never be a, quote, real girl like her. There were also plans between her and the other girls involved to pull Kelly's pants and underwear down in the school's cafeteria. Holy shit. We also discovered that she was active in, quote, TERF communities on various websites and had posted hateful messages calling trans women perverts and trying to, quote, prove that they aren't, quote, real women. Yeah, this is insane. Like, how did you get to this point? This is, okay, listen. You have to be involved in what your kids are doing on the internet. Like, it's crazy to me that people just let their kids just be on the internet and don't fucking like check to see what they're up to. Hi Dizzy, how are you doing? I'm in the middle of freaking out a little bit right now. But yeah, like, you need to know who your kids are talking to and what parts of the internet they're hanging out on. This is insane to me. Yeah, exactly. Trans women are perverts, she says, planning to sexually assault another student. Holy shit. Obviously, we are taking this very seriously. Her 16th birthday party was canceled. We've pulled Madison out of her old school and enrolled her in a different one. Her phone and electronics have been taken away for a year. She has started therapy, and we have made an appointment with a psychiatrist. We also plan to sign her up for an LGBT sensitivity workshop aimed at teens. However, Madison has only doubled down on her behavior. She doesn't seem to show any remorse over what she did and what happened to Kelly, because she thinks she did nothing wrong, and she hasn't taken well to therapy or her new school. She has also attempted to steal her electronics back from my husband and I. I am trying to stay hopeful that the new environments will be good for her, but I am worried, so I decided to come to you all. What else can I do to make Madison realize the gravity of what she did? She has no social media or phone for almost 2 months now, but she is still very stuck in the quote TERF mindset. Are there any resources available on how to deter this mindset? Unsure of what else to do besides what we already have planned, but I have seen people say that TERF is a gateway into other dangerous beliefs. I feel like half those things are not more likely to make this child a more kind person. Yeah, like, I don't know what I would do. I don't know what I would do. I mean, yeah, it's correct. It is alt-right pipeline stuff. You know, you will inevitably end up in bed with fascists if you go down the gender critical route. Abort her. It's not too late. Lots of that is just punish, 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 and some of it is actually helpful. Yeah, I do want to comment on, like, there are echoes of familiarity with the way that these parents have responded to this bullying as there is with parents who discover that their kid is trans and they don't like it, right? However, she pushed someone to attempt suicide, so I could understand there being like a desire for there to be an actual punishment for that. I just don't know that isolating her is going to be the thing to do. Obviously, this kid does need therapy, I will say. Like, clearly, she needs to work through something happening inside her. If she thinks that pushing someone to kill themselves or to try to kill themselves is, like, morally neutral or, like, a morally good thing. Like, she thinks she did nothing wrong. She was planning on sexually assaulting someone. Like, one thing that is also missing from this is, like, what kind of conversations are the parents having with her about this? Like, what approach are they taking to try to convince this child? Or have they? Have they tried to talk to her about, like, you know, it's a labor struggle, or not labor, sorry. It's a social struggle for women to deal with sexual assault all the time. And you have planned, like, you, a woman who should know what it's like to be afraid of sexual assault, like, you are going to sexually assault another woman just because you didn't like what kind of woman she is, right? Yeah, how are they being parents? Like, how are they being involved in this? This girl has something else going on, in my opinion. It sounds like oppositional defiant disorder, and the TERFism is just a side effect. I'm not familiar with oppositional defiant disorder, but I could see that being the case, that she has other, she has some other issue, right? Spider says the prescription is a locked room, a screen that plays Lux Connect 24/7, and Clockwork Orange eyelid holders if necessary. True. Yeah, so yeah, she's at a new school. We don't know if she's going to be around any other LGBT kids at the new school. I think it's good to have gotten her away from the kids who she was doing this shit with. Like, it was her and her friends. So, you know, talk about social contagion. I really am curious if, like, which one of her friends started this shit, or was it her? I would like to know, because I don't think that this just came from the schools. I really doubt that it came from the schools. What I imagine is that one of the friends' parents is a hardcore TERF, and that one of the friends got the whole friend group into it. They said she was the ringleader. Did they really? Oh, it did say that right up top. She was the ringleader in a violent bullying campaign. Well, okay, she took the lead in the bullying, but I'm saying the ideology may not have come from her. Like where did the targeting this trans girl for being trans part come from? Did she discover that on the internet? Or I think more likely one of the parents of her friends got them into it. Because like that's the other aspect of this is, have these parents talked to any of the other parents involved and been like, what the fuck? Like, why is your kid helping my kid bully other kids? Like, what are you going to do to address this situation? Here's how I'm addressing it with my daughter because this is unacceptable. Like, are you raising your kids to think that this behavior is okay? If she's dealing with ODD and the school is actively affirming of queer people, she likely thinks that being a TERF is a form of rebellion. Potentially. A vulnerable kid looking for an outlet is a recruiting candidate for TERFism and other hateful ideologies. She certainly didn't think of this stuff by herself, but we're the quote groomers. Exactly. Yeah, TERFs are branding themselves falsely as the new counterculture, and I could see a stupid child going along with that. I think, yeah, this kid needs to be in therapy, and it needs to be a kind of therapy that addresses, like, that's gonna flesh out the underlying reasons for why she is behaving this way. And yeah, I don't think the parents are involved enough in this situation. I'm kind of reading through some of the comments really quick. The kid needs to have a compassionate and healthy environment while facing consequences for the harm she caused. And that's a hard balance and a hard thing to act on when you feel so upset with someone. Yeah, that's the tricky thing as a parent. Being like, I did not raise you this way. I am profoundly disappointed and angry with you, but I still love you. And like, being able to explain, like, I am going to have to give you a punishment for this because what you've done is egregious, but I am also going to continue to support you and get you help, you know? Yeah, some people are saying that she has a better chance to change for the better than a TERF that's older. Like if she's still under 25, she's more likely to change for the better. Like truly TERFism in a teenager is likely, I think, fairly likely to be actually a phase in the way that they accuse trans people of going through a phase. Which, I mean, I don't necessarily think that it's a bad thing if you think that you're trans for a short period and then you stop thinking it and that's like a phase of your life. That's like a weirdly dismissive way to approach things, you know what I mean? Support isn't about agreement, especially with kids. True. She's still a child, very impressionable. Yeah, I wouldn't suggest military school. That would suck. Like, that's not gonna help anything. Yeah, it could potentially help to have a child psychiatrist who does work with hate group deprogramming and stuff. Yeah, to be clear, it's possible that she has some actual like mental health problem, but I just think that this is a teenager who's been radicalized like many adults can be, you know? Isolation of different types. I mean, a desire for social acceptance can lead you to bully other people, right? Yeah, military school is an indoctrination camp. So there's not a whole lot. I was looking to see if there were any additional comments from OP that would add any details here. Ooh, I cramp. Oh. Ow. How old is this girl? She's 16. Ow, I'm having a very sharp pain. I do think they need to find an LGBT therapist for their daughter who understands the LGBT community and TERF ideology. Oh my god. Yeah. I don't know, like, the kid might, like, actively disrespect someone who's a member of the queer community if she already hates trans people. Oh, man. It's not as bad as it was initially, but it's, like, still there. You know how that goes? I think that this is, like, a period cramp situation occurring here. It's, like, really unpleasant all of a sudden. That happens sometimes. I think it may be because, like, maybe these pants are... I'm wearing 2 pairs of pants. I'm gonna take off 1 pair of pants and hope that that takes some of the pressure off. Ooh. Excuse me. Yeah, that feel when you have a uterus, I guess. I mean, obviously you can still have period cramps even if you don't have a uterus. But still, oh my god. Ow. I'm still wearing a pair of I'm still wearing sweatpants, alright? I didn't take pants off. I've given up on normal pants. I mean, yeah, I wear sweatpants. I also like, this is why I like wearing dresses, because it does not put any pressure on my little belly area. Yeah, Jesus. Sorry, everybody. That's just part of having a human body. My IUD was brutal, amplified cramps times 10. I'm glad it's not just me, Dark Canuck. It used to be, sidetrack on the periods conversation here, it used to be that I would have pretty bad cramps the day before I would start bleeding, and then my first day of bleeding. Now, and it would be more generally around, you know? And then after my IUD placement, now I get cramps for like at least a week before I start bleeding, and it's a different type of pain and also way different and kind of worse. So, yeah. Yeah, I'm not actually a dragon. I know, terrible. I actually thought I might have been experiencing period cramps from HRT at one point, and then it turned out to be gallstones. Oh no. Yeah, if my cramps and stuff don't basically just chill the fuck out dramatically after the 6-month point of having this IUD, I might have to start a GoFundMe for a hysterectomy, because, like, oh man, I can't deal. I've never had gallstones. I don't know what it would feel like if I had gallstones. Oh man. It's getting a little bit better now. Dragons can still wear pants, even 2 pairs sometimes. How does dragon wear pants? Well, actually, here's realistically, I think that my dragon is not a dragon. My dragon is a wyvern. So I guess the dragon wears pants the same way everyone else does. I was making the joke about how does dragon wear pants with is it with the front leggies in? Or only the back leggies. But if you do it correctly, I think that they only have legs. Hello, Harley. Welcome in. Oh my god. Yeah, that's what I was invoking, Phoebe. The dogs wearing jeans in different ways. This is why I recommend the subdermal implant. It's been very non-problematic. I am getting older, and I am worried about blood clots. And so I don't want to be on hormonal birth control like that. That's like full body hormonal birth control. Dragon wears pants one leg at a time. Exactly. Custom-made dragon pants would be cool. Oh, yeah, got a blood clot in my lung 2 years ago. Was not an enjoyable experience. Yes, I am not interested in death. By the way, you still have to talk about Hunter Avalon. I know that! We haven't even been going for 2 hours. I will get to it. I got derailed by a very intense cramp. I am not interested in death got me good. I used to be quite interested. Not so much anymore. No thank you. Not for me. Thank you. Oh shit. Gallstones felt like gas pain at first. They would only hurt every so often for a while, so I thought it was either gas or period cramps. And then one day it started and kept going for over a day. I thought maybe it was my appendix. They showed me the ultrasound and my gallbladder looked like it was full of gravel. What causes that? What causes gallstones? Like what do that? Yeah. I think even those interested in death would not like a pulmonary embolism. That shit hurt. Yeah, I don't want to think about it. Eating lots of greasy food, also it is hereditary. Okay, well. I'm trying not to eat as much greasy food nowadays. Vegetable oil is yummy, though. I'm pretty interested in death in a way. I have a tattoo on my body that says Memento Mori, but that's not the same thing as being like, I am interested in having some death, please. Evil causes gallstones. Ow. According to Thanos, death is also hot. She's a hot lady. Memento Mori, just, not right now. I'm interested in death in many ways, but I would like to not have gravel where gravel should not be. I agree. All right, so let's move on to this YMCA thing. Let me get this prepared here. Be prepared. I was thinking about naming this stream It's Fun to Stay at the because we're going to be talking about the YMCA here in a second, but then I decided not to do that because I thought maybe Think of the Children would work better. I don't know. We haven't had as many people in here as we had on Thursday, but it's not too bad. Didn't know the Y still existed. Yeah, I guess I figured it still did. Beep repaired. Exactly. Did you know that there's a YWCA? I didn't know that for a really long time. Got my gallbladder removed entirely. Secret weight loss hack. True. Oof. Why is trans person at YMCA? Because it's a place to work out. It might be the only gym in the town. I don't know. Death has been a shadow over me that I never asked for. It's a fixation of mine. I mean, I'm interested in death in the sense of, like, it's a cool thing to think about, and like philosophically also. But yeah, I just no longer wish to die. So, and I just phrased that in a silly manner. I live across the street from a YWCA. They have a housing unit for parents. That's cool. Okay. I need my headphones because this is going to be a video reaction segment. Video reaction. All right. One weird weight loss trick they don't want you to know: sell all your organs on the black market. Exactly. So real quick before we start, hit the like button. If you haven't yet hit the like button over on the YouTube page, there is always a direct correlation between likes and more people showing up in the chat immediately afterward. So do that real quick if you haven't already. Appreciate you. It's a little free way for you to boost the channel. And we're about to start talking about trans women in locker rooms. I keep feeling I need to burp and I just can't get it to go. It's such a weird one. So, oh my gosh. Everywhere all over the place, people are talking about trans people and whether they should be accessing single-sex spaces in public. Like the bathrooms. We've been having bathroom bill conversations in the United States since like 2016 when I think it was North Carolina passed a bill or tried to pass a bill, whichever way it was, limiting trans people's access to bathrooms. So locker rooms, sports teams, like women's shelters, like all of these different places, there is a question of whether trans people should be there or whether they should be in the place that's appropriate for their gender. So in this case, we're going to be talking about a YMCA locker room. A young woman is testifying, I guess, before a city council meeting of some kind about a trans woman in the locker room. So we're going to like react to this. We're going to look at it, see what she has to say. I get the impression that it's a bit of a think of the children kind of argument, but we'll see what she has to say. So yeah, get your clicks and likes in real quick before we get started. Let's roll over here.
Confirmed that the man.
Wow, that was loud in my ear. How did that feel for you guys? Was it really loud? Felt really loud to me.
Good evening, council members and residents of Santee behind me. My name is Rebecca Phillips, and I'm 17 years old. I am not a resident of Santee, but I am employed at a local restaurant, the Omelet Factory, and I work out regularly at the Santee YMCA.
So she doesn't pay taxes here. I turned her down a little bit. She doesn't pay taxes there, but she's asking them to like change the law in this locality, I guess. Anyway, was it still too loud? I hope it was not.
Just 2 weeks ago, after finishing my shift at my job, I went to the gym to swim laps. As I was showering after my workout, I saw a naked male in the women's locker room. I immediately went back into the shower, terrified, and hid behind their flimsy excuse for a curtain until he was gone.
I really don't know if I believe this person, but I'm gonna continue to hear her out. Like the naked male thing, like I don't know. I
ran into a bathroom stall to change as quickly as I could, organizing my thoughts to share with the people at the front desk. As I did so, I could only think of my 5-year-old sister, who I bring to this gym during the summer to enjoy their water slides.
Michelle, thank you so much for the $20 dono. Let's get this party started. Hell yes. Let's get it started and how. Sorry, I'm an idiot. That's okay. I like being dumb. It's relaxing. The real problem is change rooms aren't solitary in the first place. Communal change rooms are creep in general to me. Just give us stalls to change in. I mean, there's like two different there's sort of two different approaches to this, right? There are some people who think, oh, we should just have unisex changing rooms because it's never really an issue, versus like people thinking that there should only be solitary changing rooms. Like, I don't know. I feel like communalism would probably be the better way to go. Like, reduce the mystery about each other's bodies, like normalize nudity in a non-sexual manner. I don't know. Let's continue with this.
This is the YMCA, where hundreds of children spend their summer.
Oh my God, the tears. I didn't know that we were heading toward tears. She's like, my 5-year-old sister. Yeah, like, I don't know.
Afternoons in child care camps. This is the YMCA where my little sister took gymnastics lessons. The locker room was supposed to be her safe haven to gossip with her friends and shower and change. When I asked the YMCA management what their policy was regarding transgenders,
Regarding transgenders, yeah, honestly, just stop staring at people's groins. Like, why, when you come out of the shower, are you, like, looking at people's crotches? She's starting to sound like that one woman who was crying because she didn't want gay marriage to be protected. Right. I don't understand how I mean, maybe, is she going to say, like, I was raped by someone and therefore I have a problem? Like, yeah, she wants her sister to see vaginas and not penises. Like, what? It's just not a big deal. Like, am I crazy for just feeling like human bodies are normal? It makes me feel crazy. The idea that, like, oh, seeing a penis in a changing room would be like a day ruining thing. Like, I'm gonna cry over it. Like, wow, grow up.
Confirmed that the man that I saw was indeed allowed to shower wherever he pleased.
And also just gonna continue with we're calling him a man, even though she's a woman. Like, this is just what the rhetoric is going to be from now on, apparently.
As long as you are not a red flag on Megan's Law, the California Sex Offender Registry, a grown male can shower alongside a teenage girl at your YMCA location here in Santee.
Yeah, like, I would bet that a woman who is a sex offender would also, like a cis woman who's a sex offender would also not be allowed in. For me, seeing a penis in a changing room would ruin my day, and that's why I don't look. I avert my eye. Amen. Amen, Dizzy. Like, apparently you are significantly more intelligent than this young person who oh my God. I find this so frustrating. And, like, listen, I recognize that the approach that I'm having right now is not very empathetic to her. And I'm sure when this gets uploaded to YouTube, that there will be people in my comments telling me, like, oh, how are you so, like, callous about the lived experience? It's like the way that people comment on my detransitioner videos. Like, when I talk about harmful detransitioners and their rhetoric, people are always like, well, what if we just ignored all of your history and background and considered your opinions invalid because of that? And I was like, if the opinions that I'm professing are like, some people shouldn't have access to healthcare, then yes, you're allowed to ignore all of the reasons why I believe that and just focus on the shitty thing that I said. You know, like, I find this so frustrating because she's doing something aggressive here. Like, complaining to staff about your presence in a bathroom when she didn't even do anything. Like, the trans woman in question was just changing her clothes. She didn't do anything to harm her. She wasn't staring at her or anything. It was just a woman existing in a space, and she decided to become an aggressor by going to the staff. And, like, these people just like to pretend as though they're victims, and it's not. They're actually the ones being the aggressor. So when I call her names or whatever, when I say that she's being stupid, it's because she is attacking trans people's right to exist in certain public spaces. Like, she started it. So any of you in the comments of the YouTube in the future when this video goes up, stop pulling Darvo on me. Like, stop telling trans people that our reaction to having our rights attacked is the actual problem. Can you just, like, stop acting like my reaction to people being aggressive and rude toward me is the actual aggression and rudeness. Like, this is fucking really frustrating to me. Does she actually even know this person is trans? Well, she's just saying that there was a person with a penis and she's calling that person male. Like, I don't know. It's really funny because also, like, you know, trans men can have phalloplasties, and she is basically like the kind of person who wants trans men to be required to use the women's room. I don't know. They usually just say they want a women's space, and then everyone who is like some kind of freak gender can be in the men's room. Cis people just cannot act casually around the genitals of the opposite sex. I mean, she knows she's just bigoted. The weaponization of the white tears is crazy to me. I didn't realize before when I was looking at this video that that's what was going to happen, that she was going to cry about it.
I was made to feel as though I had done something wrong when I talked to people at the YMCA.
Yeah, that's because you did.
Somehow, the indecent exposure of a male to a female minor was an inconvenience to them.
It's a locker room. It's not indecent exposure. If a woman flashed you her vagina on the street, that would also be that would be indecent exposure. But a woman's vagina in a locker room is not that. So this woman is 17 years old. I just want to address that comment really quick in the chat. This woman is 17 years old. So her entire argument here is like, I'm a minor and therefore this was, lascivious sexual exposure. But, like legally a locker room is a place where nudity is expected. Like, you consent to seeing other nude bodies by going into a locker room. Point blank, period. Like, that's just how it is.
Them. When my dad spoke to the sheriff's office, they told him that he should never allow me to shower there ever again.
Was that because the police were like, I don't know what, like, does anyone get that? I feel like that's, I'm not quite sure what is meant to be implied by that. Did the police say, your daughter is a nuisance, so don't go back to the locker rooms because she's invaded someone else's privacy? Or are they saying like, well, we can't stop the transes from being in that bathroom, so you should probably not let your daughter in there because this is going to continue to happen? Yeah, more like we agree but can't actually stop them. So I'm not sure. Anyway, continuing on.
The YMCA wouldn't let my father speak to the manager of the Santee branch. After waiting several days, he finally received a call from Terry Moss, who is the director of membership for San Diego County. She informed my dad that I was not in any danger at the time of the incident, that I was safe. But I asked...
You were safe? This is all about white women's fifis. Like, white women are like, but I didn't feel safe. Like, do you think that trans women feel safe in most public bathrooms, or locker rooms, whether it's the women's room or the men's room? You go into the men's room, someone sees that you have tits and they sexually assault you. Or you go into the women's room and someone sees that you have a penis and they try to have you arrested. What a great combo. What a great combo.
You this. I'm assuming all of you either have a wife, a sister, daughters, or granddaughters, or are a woman yourself. Could you knowingly send an underage girl into a room where there was a naked male and say that she was not in danger, that she was safe, or more importantly, that this was right?
The moralism, like she's saying, even if it is safe, it's not right. Like that's what happened right at the end there. I don't know if you caught that. She said, can you really say that any of your wives or girls would be safe in a room with a male? Again, like quintessentializing, like penis equals rapist, like penis equals male, like that maleness is inherently predatory, which it's not, and that trans women are implicated in male violence, which they're not. They're usually victims of it. Like, so even if it's totally safe, she caveats right there, she sneaks it in. She says, morally, it's not right, even if I was safe. Like, because there was no danger to her. She perceived that she might be in trouble. But again, stop looking at people's crotches, you fucking psychopath.
The fact that we are now tailoring our privacy policies and bathroom laws around transgenders, ignoring the blatant threat to safety that this poses, is obscene.
Okay, would you like to demonstrate the actual safety risk? Because again, like, stop blaming women for men's behavior. trans women are actually slightly more likely than cis women to experience lifetime sexual assault. Like, it's like 1 in 5 cis women. So about 20% of cis women get like seriously sexually assaulted in their lives, whereas about 33% of transgender women have been sexually assaulted in their lives. So, you know, at the end of the day, stop blaming trans women for things that men do. It's just this bioessentialist conflation is never going to end.
The safety of children, girls, is on the chopping block.
How?
And this issue is not unique to one political party. Both Democrats and Republicans whom I have shared this story with have all been equally disgusted. So I implore you all to take action. With great privilege comes great responsibility. Whether it's requiring transgenders to use the single-stall family restrooms.
Yeah, and again with the transgenders, that's 3 times. She never says trans people. Oh, these transgenders. That is like a kind of objectifying rhetoric that definitely doesn't lend itself to elimination rhetoric at all.
Or making them use the bathroom which aligns with their biological trans...
Thank you. Thank you.
She got cut off. So was there anything else to this? I thought that maybe there was. Oh, okay. Interesting. This person says, every YMCA I have ever been to has 4 locker rooms. Men, women, boys, and girls. Minors are not allowed to be naked with adults who are not vetted or are relatives. So what Rebecca's upset about here is that she's a minor who felt entitled to break the rules and is tattling to town hall. I didn't know that. Is that true? I've never been to a YMCA. I mean, I have probably, but like when I was a wee bab, I do not remember going there. But if that's true, then like she is not 18 years old and she was just in that restroom. I don't even think this story is true. Yeah, like I don't know. It sucks for that. If it's a real story, then that trans woman just like got harassed at the gym for no fucking reason, which is irritating. So, yeah, hold on. Let me look at this. I had another thing in my notes. Okay, so here, actually, we might know who the trans woman is here. So, no, Spider, here's the thing. I guess the other person, the trans person who was in the bathroom with her might have also been a minor using the wrong locker room. But like I think the idea here is like she's saying this was an adult, and I know this because I was in the adults' locker room, perhaps. Like, yeah, like she seems sure that it was an adult. Okay, anyway, so a woman falsely accused trans woman Kristen Wood of exposing her penis in a locker room. Kristen has had bottom surgery and does not have a penis. Rebecca went on Tucker this week to complain to millions who will believe her blatant lie. She should be ashamed of herself. Let me see this. YMCA, California law gives people the right to access locker rooms that align with their gender identity. Young people, this video call shows a teenage girl called Rebecca speaking, but the woman in question said that Phillips could not have seen male genitalia because she's had gender confirmation surgery. She says, I don't know what's in the mind of that child. So it seems that this girl is just super, super lying. It's not that she lied about seeing a trans woman in the bathroom, which she did, but she accused her of having a penis. And like, not that would have been a problem anyway. Like, to be clear, maintaining that position, it is not a problem for people with different genitals to be in areas where they're supposed to be. Like, trans women are women and they're permitted into the women's room, whether they've had gender surgery or not. However, it is just also that this child lied and said this person with a penis, this full-bodied male, this intact male who could have raped me, like, again, as though it's not possible for women like with no penis to rape someone. Like, people with no penis can also rape you, like, whatever. But this is crazy. she's very particularly targeting this trans woman, or I don't know if it's about her as an individual. She says she doesn't live in that town, so perhaps she doesn't actually know her personally, but she is trying to, I mean, she got on Tucker Carlson. She's making the money at this point. Like, she's gonna be making some money off of this now. What are we looking at?
Just lie? You really think someone would do that? Just go on the internet and tell lies?
I really don't like that this is where I always end up with these stories, but really with all of these young people who are getting on Tucker Carlson's show to talk about their detransition or trans people in public spaces, like, I really just think they're trying to make money. Because if they're not trying to make money, then they are like earnest in their belief that they are doing the right thing. And I just don't think that people are that stupid. Maybe they are that stupid. Or maybe they just are committed to their bigotry and don't mind that that's what it is that they're doing. But I can't believe that she teared up. She really was like, I'm going to cry over my 5-year-old. I really need to actually listen. I got to like look this up. How do YMCA locker rooms work? Okay, so here's, I guess this might be a particular sub-chapter of the YMCA. I don't know if this is the official YMCA, like the only one, but there, excuse me, there are men's and women's locker rooms provided for use by adults age 18 or older only. For the respect and comfort of all members, children under 18 are not permitted in the adult locker rooms at any time. There's a girls' locker room for girls ages 8 to 17. Girls up to age 8 escorted by a female parent or guardian. Adults 18 and older not escorting girls up to age 8 should use the appropriate adult locker room. And then the boys' locker room and the family locker room, you know, for people who require additional help. So is that a particular, or is this the actual official main YMCA website? Oh, that's FDL, which is like a specific location. So at least, where is this? Where is this? She said it was in...
My workout, I saw a naked male in the women's locker room.
Shush.
Good evening, council members and residents of
Santee. Hold on. Santee YMCA locker room. Policy. Locker room policy. Are we going to be able to find... Sorry, I'm just taking a second here. San Diego County. So if this is the YMCA of San Diego County, general membership policies, hold on, let me do a search for the locker room. Okay, so I guess... for this San Diego County, it might be that it's children the age of 13. Like, it might be that in San Diego there isn't a boys and girls and then men and women's bathrooms. So I'm not going to commit to the idea that she was just in the wrong bathroom initially. TERFs calling trans women males gives the same energy as incels calling women females. It's creepily objectifying. Both of the things that she did, like these males were in here, and it's so silly that we're making policy based on transgenders. Like, it's so silly that we're making policy about transgenders and their right to public spaces instead of my fifis about whether or not I'm safe. Fucking moron. I think I'm ready to move on from that. Cheers. What's up, Rose? Yeah, finally caught up. Did you see the Supreme Court case about the lady who refused to do wedding websites for gay marriages? It was very interesting because she had never even been asked to make one. There was no defendant. Really? What happened? Like, how did that happen? Basically, we can't assume a set structure since it varies by location. Yeah, I'll pull off of it. Like, I admit, I'll pull off of that. My ear is ringing terribly right now. Drink a little water. I liked the Santa comparison. Wait, is this a new Supreme Court case that just happened? And Jolly says, I'm saying that most feminists, such as liberal and Marxist, eco, etc., are certainly not TERFs by any metric. And from what I have seen, even among radical feminists, as I have noted a few names, but there remain more, the numbers are objective, not just the names I can come up with. Yeah, I mean, I don't think that most feminists are TERFs. I think, like, TERFs are... I mean, they're really not even that feminist. TERFs are like second wave feminists, but like dial up the intensity. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Legally, discrimination in any law or ruling that disagrees is unconstitutional. Mostly I know this from the homophobic Baker's case, which, if I remember correctly, the court decided wrongly, IMO. The Colorado cake guy, it's been such a long time. I don't remember what ended up happening with that case. TERFs seem anti-gender equality. I mean, they are conservatives. They are hardcore gender normative conservatives. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, it's all of the worst aspects of the second wave feminists. Gender critical my ass. I'm kind of aiming for at least the 3 hours today, because I have to go retrieve a teenager from where I left it. So probably we'll do the Hunter Avalon segment, and then we might dick around a little bit more, and then we won't go too much longer than that. Thank you all so much for hanging out with me, by the way, and I appreciate Michelle's dono earlier. Ooh. It wasn't a straightforward opinion in the case of the baker. That's probably why I don't remember it. It's true. TERFs are boomer 70s liberals that called themselves feminists and radicals in the 70s to be edgy with their friends, but are just fascists now because liberals end up siding with fascism. It's true. Yes. What is that one called? Is that one called Peppa Hug? Peppa Hugs. And Wiggles. So, I don't need any of that open anymore. Wiggles. Yeah, see ya, Raymond, if you're heading out of here. Oh, Hunter Avalon. Oh boy, I guess we're gonna do this next. Oh, my body hurts. I gotta get back on my yoga game. I gotta get back on my stretching game. Hunter Avalon now. I've never talked about Hunter Avalon on my stream, I don't think. I'm pretty confident that I've never talked about Hunter Avalon on my stream, but Twitter is still a place. Hunter Avalon, like me, apparently is not able to let sleeping dogs lie, or whatever the phrase is. When we're all beating a dead horse by participating in the Twitter drama, like any amount of Twitter at this point. We are all Elon's playthings. So Hunter Avalon and I are both on Twitter, and there are xenogender takes going around. For one, I want to highlight, I guess, before we really get solidly into the xenogender, not the xenogender, yeah, like, we're gonna talk about xenogenders. Before we get very solidly into the Hunter Avalon part of this, I do just want to say, President Sunday had a tweet that I wanted to find, maybe. Hold on. Okay, here we go. So I wanted to just highlight, like, of all the discourse happening around xenogenders, most of the time I see people doing what Hunter Avalon has done, which is be super fucking reactionary about it. And it includes a lot of the people in the comments of this tweet. It's truly the unpopular opinion for people to be, like, even neutral about neopronouns and xenogenders. Excuse me. So gassy. So President Sunday said, if you're against neopronouns and neo/xenogenders as a principle, then you're against challenging the view of gender, which insists that it must align either positively or negatively with one's genitals. This is actually far more arbitrary than emancipating gender from sex altogether. Like, I just wanted to say I appreciated that. And, you know, there were some things in the comments that I also really appreciated. Like, hold on, where was I? So someone was like, I'm fine with the concept of xenogenders, but I'm not going to take on the cognitive load of tracking them. And Sunday says, you're not required to track anything. You just treat people with respect. And then this person says, that's not been my experience. Failure to use the correct neopronoun is met with swift woke scolding. Sunday says, if you refuse to use someone's avowed gender in conversation after it's been told to you, then you were the aggressor. Otherwise, I'm sorry you met a mean person someplace. Would you like me to kiss it better? I'm like, thank you, Prez. I really sincerely appreciated that. I don't really know Prez very well, but I'm just like, I appreciate that, because the alternative to this tends to be a lot of reactionary response, essentially. So I wanted to look at Hunter Avalon because he is a big voice, like in leftist, like he exists in leftist space. He's a big creator, and I saw him weighing in on this. And if I'm gonna focus on any one person and their bad opinions about xenogenders, it might as well be someone like Hunter Avalon and not random Twitter user 800,402. So I want to get my headphones going because he posted a couple of clips. He does have a full video. I don't know how long the full video is. Hold on, let me see. That's a 48-minute video that I don't feel like going over the whole thing today. I don't feel like going over the whole thing. So I'm gonna just like respond to the couple of tweets, the videos and the tweets here. So let's try this. Let's see.
So what makes gender gender? What is gender referring to? Gender, and this is where I'm going to get crucified for this, but I do not care. And if I hear a better argument, I will change my position, okay? But my understanding is that gender refers to how people perceive themselves and behave and express themselves in regards to what is culturally recognized as being masculine, feminine, on that type of spectrum. And then you have non-binary individuals who, again, are non-binary. Their gender exists as a gender because it is a rejection of the binary of gender.
See, this is the thing. You're like, I as a non-binary person, I experience my gender as neither of these things, but like the idea of neo-genders is like, okay, so it isn't like working, or like it's not even accurate to have my gender being described only as non-binary. Like my gender isn't what it isn't. Like, I'm having a hard time phrasing this. As a non-binary person, yes, fundamentally, the thing about me being non-binary is that I'm not a man or a woman, but that means that I am some other thing. And it would be cool if we could define ourselves by what we feel our gender is, as opposed to what our gender isn't. Like, non-binary is not very specific. So, like, if you are okay with non-binary people, you must naturally be okay with neopronouns and xenogenders, because that is what non-binary is. It is a separate experience of gender outside of this understanding. So we'll continue with Hunter here.
Again, in regards to masculine or feminine. This is why non-binary people try to present more androgynous. That is what gender...
Well, but we don't try to dress androgynous necessarily. Plenty of non-binary people go for a masculine or feminine presentation. But like, that's not all there is. Like, to be non-binary is not just to be androgynous. Like, I think for a lot of us, like, some of us feel like we're pushing at the edges of what it means to even be human. For some of us, like, pushing at the boundaries of what gender is as we understand it. Pushing at the boundaries of what expression is like. Like, what do you call a goth expression? Is it only masculine or feminine? Like, because of what, like, fishnets get used in masculine and feminine goth presentation. Like, gothness is a type of personal expression and identity that occupies a lot of the same things that we use to denote gender. Like, we denote gender by how you dress, but like, masculinity and femininity aren't necessarily a part of it when the aesthetic you're going for is goth. So, like, that's just an example, and maybe it's not a great example, and maybe I'm not explaining myself very well. But like, a lot of people who experience xenogenders do have a very hardcore goth aesthetic, because it is a very particular kind of gender expression. Like, you could even say that it is a unique, independent type of gender expression. Yeah, exactly. See, exactly. Goth is my gender. Okay, I'm glad that this is landing with some trans people in the chat. Like, for this, if this goes on YouTube later, I just want to point out that there are people in the chat who are saying like, oh shit, this thing that you're saying makes sense. I just chose a random example because I experienced this urge to look like inhuman in the goth way, that like the like freakish thing that's sort of implied by dressing like that. Like the freak that you are perceived as when you wear like black contacts or something like that. So I don't know. I'm just kind of trying to work this out with you, Hunter.
refers to right now. Gender refers to something, because if somebody says I am tree gender and I say, why are you tree gender? What is different between being tree gender and then just having an interest or being, you know, something you're into? Like, is the car mechanic car gender?
I mean, I think it's because if you are a person who doesn't have a clear male or female gender identity, you can pretty easily just, I mean, it's a lot easier to recognize that anything could go in that place. Like, if you're a person who doesn't experience a strong sense of male or female gender, like it might as well be anything, because gender like ultimately doesn't mean it. Like, if you're a person like me who is like, I am a gender, like I don't have a specific gender, like you could put anything in that place. That's why it's one of the things that we joke about. Like, today I am pizza gender, or like shit like that. Like it's because it's farcical, because you could put anything there, and people engage with that in different degrees of severity, like in different degrees of sincerity. The tree gender person might just be like, haha, this is funny. Or the tree gender person might be like, trees are very important to me in like a philosophical and spiritual way. And so if anything is going to go in that slot where gender exists for a lot of people, I'm going to put the tree there because it's like that influential and meaningful to me and who I feel I am as a person. Like, insert whatever the gender is. Like, I don't, I personally think that there is a lot of symbolism and spiritual meaning to trees. I'm an atheist. Like, I'm just trying to say, like, there's a philosophical, emotional connection. Like, when I say spiritual, that's kind of what I'm trying to say. Like, there's a spiritual, when I say that, I mean, like, there's a philosophical and emotional connection point happening here. So yeah, like, it might as well be anything in that spot.
No, interests, personality, hobbies are different from gender. But if they're different, then gender has to mean something. Then gender must...
Oh, okay. I think that's the problem here that we're running into, Hunter, is that gender doesn't really mean anything. It's made up. It's fake.
be talking about something.
Like, all of it is made up. Like, all of it is engaging with some amount of social bullshit. Like, whether it's female and male gender roles, or whether it's I'm gonna have fun and be tree. I don't know why he's so mad about it. I don't know.
And then you'll have people that say, well,
or maybe he's not mad. I'm not going to accuse him of being mad. He's just animated. Also, I keep interrupting him, so I'm going to take it back slightly so I catch all of what he just said.
Mean something. Then gender must be talking about something. And then you'll have people that say, well, I want to abolish gender, so I want to say that everything's gender now. That'll just destroy the word completely, because now gender will be everything. One, then now you've taken away gender from having any explanatory power, which I think is going to be at least detrimental in the short run. Second of all,
I mean, gender already doesn't really have much explanatory power. If you say I'm a trans woman, like, all right, let's take out the trans. If you just say I'm a woman, like, that is one of the accepted genders, and you're not really saying much, like, because women can be butch, women can be femme, women can be trans, women can be cis, women can be black, women can be indigenous, like. It like doesn't really tell you very much, or not very much useful information. Whereas if you were to say something like I'm a trans woman, that, like, including that modifier to the gender, like, informs you about, like, maybe the person's body, maybe the person's history, but trans women can still be butch, they can still be femme, they can still have a penis or not have a penis. Like, these words don't really mean very much. Like, yeah, this is a question. Like, why does he feel the need to explain this and categorize this? Is Hunter Avalon the kind of person who will make an argument that you should have a gender marker on your ID? Like, that is a significant enough thing that you need to have on your ID? I don't know. We'll continue.
You're doing this the hard way. Why are you now going to try and validate xenogenders, which is more or less people that just want to be special and try to carve themselves out as being unique and different?
That is like a fundamentally transphobic thing to say. If this ever gets out to Hunter Avalon, like, I'm not calling you a transphobe. The idea that any gender minority person is, like, seeking attention is fundamentally transphobic. Like, this is, it's the oldest fucking thing in the book, practically. Like, I am non-binary because I'm non-binary. I associate with a xenogender because, like, my non-binary identity is hard to convey in terms that make sense. Like if I were to say that I feel very closely associated with lions or something. Like you would understand some things about my personality by me saying that. And so if I were to say like my gender today is lion gender, I'm just making shit up right now, by the way. Like it would tell you something about, like maybe it'll tell you that I'm prideful. Maybe it'll tell you that I am strong and fierce. Like in fact, I think that the animals comparison would probably tell you more descriptive information about a person than just saying woman. Like if I say my gender is woman, that could mean fuck all anything. But if I tell you my gender is lion, you're going to have a much more colorful, descriptive understanding of who I am. And it also tells you that I'm non-binary. Because fundamentally, again, when you're talking about xenogenders, you're talking about it's just non-binary people. The type of people who associated with xenogenders, it's not like a cis person who's decided that they want to fit into the trans club. You're just making the same transgender argument that we've already been seeing for the past like 8 years. So, I mean, that's, I guess, like one of the main things that I want to point out about this is, and a lot of people who identify with xenogenders are on hormones. Like we are trans. Physically, we are transitioning. And being non-binary is hard to explain. So you come up with like metaphors that help inform people about how you feel about your non-binariness, which this is fundamentally what xenogenders are. We will continue.
At the cost of unironically delegitimizing trans people who are currently...
So again, the quote-unquote unironically delegitimizing like normal trans people, this is the same argument that gets used against non-binary people in general, Hunter. Like you're making an argument fundamentally that is like you're making an argument against certain types of trans people and it also hurts like people that you think are valid. If you think non-binary people who don't claim a xenogender, which is to say non-binary people who don't claim any specific gender, because all non-binary genders are neo-genders, basically. Like this is very clearly an argument that you just shifted the goalpost slightly on which trans people are allowed. Other people will put that goalpost. You said non-binary people are trans and that's okay. Xenogender people are not. And other people will take that same goalpost, move it over here, and then it's like, oh, only binary trans people are actually trans, and these people aren't. And then another person will pick up that goalpost and move it slightly even further over and say, oh, it's not just binary trans people who are the only valid ones. It's also binary trans people who've had hormones and bottom surgery. And so all of these people are not trans enough anymore to count. All of these people, it's exactly the same as saying, if you don't want bottom surgery, then you're making trans people look bad and you're like not really trans and like you're doing something bad. It's exactly the same argument. You've just decided that certain types of trans people are acceptable and other types are not. And that's not it's not really like for you to do. And it's not really for me to do either, to be clear. I'm not saying, oh, I'm the arbiter of who's trans or not. I'm saying nobody can be the arbiter of who is trans or who is making us look silly, you know? Hunter, I'm sure you remember being a conservative. Like, I really bet that you had a time in your life where you thought that any trans person was very deeply unserious and that they were just making themselves look bad by doing XYZ thing. So, you can just point this at anyone.
Fighting for their rights. I know that sounds like a conservative argument, and it can be used in bad.
And again, positioning xenogender people as being somehow opposed to the broader trans rights shit, as opposed to like the reality that xenogender people are seeking hormones and seeking gender affirmation surgery. So, yeah, we're not opposed to each other's interests in this way.
Faith. But in this regards, I don't need to deal right now with people on Twitter that are saying, you're transphobic if you don't recognize me as being vampire gender. Furthermore, what is gender? It is about your self-perception and your behaviors in regards to what is masculine and feminine. So that's
just not how non-binary people experience gender. we don't, it's such a reduction of non-binary identities to be like, this even is still primarily in relation to masculine and feminine. And like, also, yeah, true. Like, define masculine and feminine. What are those? Some of us don't experience our genders as being like a blend of male and female and a little bit of this and a little bit of that, or like changing between the two primary genders. Like, some of us experience our gender as something completely alien to that entire concept of masculinity and femininity. Like, some of us feel so fully alienated from that it's like, you keep insisting that gender is your relation to feminine and masculine, and I'm like, that sounds fake, bro. Like, I don't know what you're talking about when you insist that gender is orientated around these two concepts. Like, that's not how I experience gender. Like, if anything, I feel like upset and annoyed a lot of the time that my relationship to my gender is constantly being pulled by other people back into that framework of, but really, are you masculine or not? Like, are you transitioning or not? Like, that's not how I experience my gender. And just because you can't imagine that that's what's happening with me doesn't mean that it's not what's happening with me. I don't know.
You cannot perceive yourself as a tree. There is no...
Bet? Do you want to bet? No, you can. Like, I can do that. I could do that. Here, I'll do it for you. I actually do want to get a tattoo of a tree on my body, I think. Let me do it for you. Trees are... I would say that trees have a very particular kind of energy, right? Like, and I have a very deep philosophical connection with trees. There's like the phrase "as above, so below," which is kind of a reference, sort of ties in with the tree of life symbol in paganism, that like the roots are connected to the branches. Everything that happens in the roots informs what happens in the branches. So like everything that we are philosophically is rooted in where we have been and where we came from. And if you turn a tree upside down, the roots will form the function of the trees. Like, things are connected. This is like the philosophical appreciation of trees. And then if you have your personality incorporated into that, like, a tree is moored in place. A tree is steady and grows slowly and is not heavily affected by its environment. Like, me personally, I'm more likely to say that I'm a mountain than that I am a tree. If it were to, like, again, we're placing something in, we're wedging something in where gender normally goes. And the thing that is being put there in this instance is just like a sense of oneness and calm and determination and connection. Like, in some ways, I guess tree gender would be sort of adjacent to a female gender in that, like, connectivity and nurturing kind of way, but it is also distinct in flavor. Like, it does also imply a steadfastness. So, like, I mean, I think part of the idea here, yeah, again, is just that what are you going to put in the gender place if you're non-binary? Like, what goes there? Do you have to put like 5% man and 20% woman and like then 75% question mark? 75% is what a neo-gender is. Anyway, I'm getting a little bit I'm not trying to get like crazy about this. We don't really need to get crazy.
No legitimate perception one can have themselves of being a tree. You can theorize what it would be like to be a tree, but you cannot actually have that internal experience the same way we do, or the same way that trans people do in regards to gender.
Okay, no, but that's exactly the same argument that, I'm sorry, Hunter, baby, sweetheart, honey. That's exactly what people say about binary trans people. Like, how can you, like, what do you know what it's like to feel like a woman? How can you know what that's like? Like, are you kidding me, Hunter? You can't be serious with that. You can't possibly be serious with that. Again, you're just making a transphobic argument. This is why you're like, oh, if you don't acknowledge me as vampire gender, like, I can't believe you're calling me transphobic. You are using transphobic arguments and you've just decided that certain types of trans people, it's not okay to use that argument. Or no, of course a trans woman knows what it's like to feel like a woman, but a person with a xenogender doesn't know what it's like to feel connection with trees. Like a connection with femininity and womanhood, or not even necessarily femininity, a connection with womanhood is what a trans woman experiences. Like a connection with trees is what a person who declares themselves to have a tree gender is associated with. Like, it's exactly the same fucking argument. Of course, I don't know what it's like to be born in a body of the opposite sex. Of course I don't know that. That doesn't mean that I don't know myself to be associated with the whatever specific gender it is. I'm fucking flipping out here with my chords. So like, yeah, of course, none of us are born knowing what a tree thinks like. But like, that's not the fucking point. Like, God, I am annoyed now because you really are just like, with no self-awareness, recycling the same arguments that I'm almost positive. I don't know Hunter Avalon's history, but I'm almost positive that since he was a conservative at one point, I bet that he's used the same arguments against binary trans people, or at least has heard exactly these same arguments against binary trans people. And he's just arbitrarily decided that certain types of trans people are experiencing something legitimate, and that a certain percentage of other trans people are not experiencing something legitimate. Hunter, sweetheart, baby, honey, I'm disappointed that you're not smart enough to recognize what you're doing.
They don't have that same internal perception. And then people might say, well...
Okay, so there's a second video. We're going to move to the second video now.
Finally...
Come on, open it back up.
Finally, when a trans woman says they are a woman, they are a woman. If somebody says, I'm tree gender, you are not a tree. Because a tree...
But they are tree gender. It's like when a trans woman says she's a woman, she's not saying, I am exactly biologically the same as a cis female. Like, and also... a person who says I am tree gender, or even if they just say colloquially I am a tree, like they are, it's like the same level of declaration. I just don't know.
Is not referring to a socially constructed gender identity the same way that woman or man is. So
only the socially constructed gender identities. Yeah. So truly, is this just a third gender situation where like, oh yeah, so you know, we have socially understood categories. No. Listen, if you, you shifted the goalposts ever so slightly, and you're saying like, this is the same argument you could use against non-binary people, that like, okay, so trans men and trans women are integrating into socially understood categories, but non-binary people, like, what are you even transitioning to? Well, in Hunter Avalon's mind, apparently it means transitioning to androgyny. Or something like that. Like the idea that non-binary identities and genders can only exist within the framework of relation to masculinity and femininity, like it just really reveals a complete fundamental misunderstanding of what being non-binary is like. Like the alienation that you experience from both the masculine and the feminine, it's not more comfortable. It's not like comfortable to find some weird place in between those two things that are putting pressure on you from both sides. Most of us want to step out. Like you think of it as a spectrum this way, a two-dimensional from masculine or male to feminine and female, and that non-binary people exist somewhere on this like string, this very thin line. When in reality, most of us want to like step off of that skinny platform. We want to step back or float in the air or sink down low. Like gender, like non-binary people don't exist merely within the framework of masculinity and femininity. That's part of what being non-binary means. It means like we haven't been able to find a comfortable place in relation to masculinity and femininity. That's part of the whole fucking thing.
It doesn't make sense. It doesn't add up at all. And I don't think that my position here is super fucking intense and crazy. Now, it might be to some dipshits on...
Your opinion is not super intense and crazy, but it is reactionary. Like, if any... Like, yes, the reaction that you're having, Hunter, is, like, the normal reaction to have, quote-unquote, because being reactionary to trans people is normal. It's just, like, where it's just like what level of transness you decide is unacceptable. Like, oh yeah, binary trans people, they're normal. That's fine. They know what it's like to be a woman. Even though, like, it's the same fucking, you can make the same argument of like, well, you have no idea what it was like to grow up getting catcalled at age 13. So how could you know what it's like? How could you possibly know what it's like to feel like a woman, you fucking trender man person? Like, you know what I mean? Like, you've just decided to levy the same argument against a different type of person.
Twitter, and that's fine. But for the most part, what I'm saying here completely encompasses the validity of trans people and the validity of non-binary people, while also recognizing that gender cannot simultaneously be nothing and everything while you want to abolish gender. And you're right.
I mean, yeah, I mean, it's just a conceptual issue for Hunter. Like, Hunter just doesn't understand what being non-binary is like on a subjective level, which is, like, not his fault, but if you could stop being so aggressively anti-non-binary, like, fundamentally what you're doing, if you are against xenogenders, you are against certain types of non-binary people. Like, basically most types of non-binary people. Any non-binary person who does not primarily inform their gender by its relation to masculinity and femininity.
Ben Shapiro's wife identifies as a doctor. That's a good point. So what separates an identity in line with your career as opposed to a gender identity? What makes it different? If you're going to answer that question, you need to have an understanding of...
Okay, so once again, you are just recycling. So now I was curious what his audience is like. He just read that out of chat. At least I'm pretty sure he just read that out of chat and then started to riff on it. So his chat is full of conservative types. Hold on. Let me take that back again. I want to hear it again.
If you're going to answer that question, you need to have an understanding of what gender refers to.
Oh, like
if you're going
the
to answer
doctor
that question,
thing.
you need to have
Yeah, it was the doctor thing. Like, that's the same argument that gets used against binary trans people. Like, oh, you can identify as a woman. Well, what if I identify as a doctor? It's not like it's not unique to xenogenders for you to be like, well, what is it that makes you a doctor? Or what is it that makes you a woman? Like, I mean, that's a question of performativity versus like whether the social environment grants you, like, what is a woman? Is it a person who identifies, or are you not really a woman until you are acknowledged as one? If you identify as a doctor, but society doesn't give you the affirmation of being a doctor, then how are you? I mean, like, it like doctor is a thing that you become through experience, right? And so maybe you could also say that woman is a thing that you become through experience. But yeah, sorry, I'm not trying to make him look silly. I've paused him in a very ahagao face. I'm sorry, Hunter. Sorry to do that to you, boy.
An understanding of what gender refers to. When I say I identify as a doctor, that means that you have a career and a profession, essentially validates your profession as a doctor. But if I say I'm a woman, I'm a man, I'm non-binary, that's how I identify, what does that mean? It means that's referring to your internal perception and identity of yourself.
Yeah, so a tree gender person has an internal perception and identity of themselves as being very much like a tree.
In regards to masculinity, femininity, or a rejection of both.
Yeah, okay, so... He got it right at the end. Hunter. I'm sorry. I'm getting a little... I'm not trying to be a sarcastic asshole. I was really, like, surprised because you got it right there at the end. Like, a rejection of both, which means that you have to find something to put in that space. You understand it. Hunter. You just, like, what do you think goes in that place? If someone rejects masculinity and femininity entirely, why do you think it's wrong to put some other object there? Like, to put some other concept there? Listen, I normally don't do a lot of, like, talking to the person as though they're going to see it. This is one that I might be like, listen, y'all need to get this to him because I actually do think that he is so close to understanding this. Like, I think that he's so close. Hunter, you're so close. Just recognize that you're using exactly the same arguments against other types of trans people that you do think are acceptable. And tell me, like, again, what do you think should go in that place where gender normally goes for someone who is very explicitly alienated from both masculinity and femininity? Like, what else do you put there? What do you think is acceptable to put there? Do you think the only acceptable thing to put into that space is this amorphous word non-binary? Like, because apparently my gender needs to be primarily defined in relation to what I am not, as opposed to giving me an opportunity to explain to you what I am in like ways that make sense. Like, again, if I tell you that I'm a lion, that is going to tell you a lot of things about my personality that me telling you, if I were to say I am a woman, it's not going to tell you. So yeah, you're so close to understanding this, man. I'll talk to you on stream about it if you still disagree with me, but you're wrong about this. You are being transphobic to a specific type of trans person. Like, you're using transphobic arguments against a type of trans person that you've decided isn't valid enough for your preference. So yeah, I mean, I'll go ahead and cut there because I think I've gone on and said as much as I can say about this. We'll talk in chat a little bit more now if anybody has any comments that I've been missing. You telling me you're a lion means you're a lion. You telling me you're a woman means you're a woman. I just mean that there's more that's implied if you say that you're a lion than if you say that you're a woman. If I tell you that I'm a lion, you will surmise that I am, that I view myself as like strong and cooperative, but in a hierarchical sense, perhaps, or I'm fierce, or I'm loud, or something. Like, I don't know. But if you say woman, like, if you believe in stereotypes about women, you could say that the implication there is like, oh, well, I'm a woman means I'm soft and weak and nurturing and whatever. Like, so again, like, the lion thing is more informative. How do people get through life just rejecting everything they don't understand? I don't understand theoretical physics, but I don't say it's invalid. Yeah, it's just a reactionary tendency. Like, oh, this sounds weird. This sounds stupid. What's up, Kumba? First time chatting, been watching for a while. Hello. I have a question about this. Seriously, I'm curious. Don't mean to be offensive. If you identify / are alienated by both masculine and feminine, why not be agender? Should I better ask someone who does identify as tree gender otherwise, or what? Sorry for the long post and not donating. No worries. I appreciate everybody who donates, but I also appreciate you just spending your time here with us, because we together create this show together, and I very much appreciate that. So I identify, I mean, if I'm really thinking about it, which I don't a lot of the time, I am agender, but that doesn't mean that there's nothing there. Like, gender is like a sense of self inside, and there is like this, you know, you grow up with this framing of masculinity and femininity, and some people do just purely reject all of it and say I'm agender. But I think that that's because they actually don't have any feelings in that spot. Whereas like, a xenogender is a positive association with someone other than masculinity and femininity. Like, agender, like a xenogender person, I guess, on some definition. I mean, if you're only defining gender by male and female, masculine and feminine, then I guess every xenogender person is actually just a gender and using a metaphor to explain their non-binariness, whatever. But like, yeah, I don't know. There's like, there are feelings in that spot that sometimes you want to use words that don't normally make sense for gender to explain. I'm an agender person who doesn't experience gender at all, and for most of my life I had to try to find someone to fill in the gap. Yeah. Let's see. It was interesting to watch Vosh figure it out and change his position in real time. He was like, oh, so it's like nicknames. Well, he was talking about neopronouns specifically. I don't think he was necessarily talking about like the concept of identifying with a quote unquote xenogender, like when you put a different metaphor in that place. Yeah, the agender, agenda. Oh gosh. I really just don't understand why cis people think they get to litigate what kind of trans people are good or bad, and that they get to try to say, like, I mean, I guess the shitty thing is that if the cis person is like, well, I am listening to trans people who are talking about this, like, well, you're only listening to the trans people who you agree with and who you think are valid, and you're like joining more privileged type of binary people. Like, it's usually binary trans people who take issue with xenogenders. So like, you're just helping binary trans people further alienate various types of non-binary people, you know? Not me realizing that I've been using xenogenders for myself without even realizing it. I generally call myself trans, masc, non-binary, but sometimes I do things with people who get it, like point at a dumpster and say, that's my gender. I mean, yeah, I think people mean it sort of jokingly, but I mean, it also is just like, because gender is meaningless, gender is nothing except for some societally understood ideas. And a tree is another societally understood idea. So, yeah, I don't know. I remember hearing Vosh make that patronizing argument against neopronouns. I was pissed watching that debate panel. I never caught that debate panel. I somewhat identify with autogender. Honestly, I think that the fact that there are a lot of trans people who are also autistic might be why we experience gender in this really weird way, where like it's complete alienation from what the presented idea of gender is supposed to be. That I know I've heard the phrase autogender, and I wonder how many. It's like there are already a large number of trans people who are autistic. I wonder if the number of xenogender people who are autistic is like closer to 100%. Spider, yeah, that's kind of what I was trying to evoke. When Vosh described how people would identify with animals and stuff through history, that helped for me. Like King Whoever the Lion, etc. It's like that, but more. I mean, I will evoke Game of Thrones on this one, because that is 100% a thing that gets done there. Like, the young wolf, like we're calling Robb Stark the young wolf, and that it changes like who he is and how he operates, you know, like to live up to that standard. And the same thing, Jaime Lannister, the Golden Lion, and there's like the implication of pride and strength and ferocity and prowess in battle, right? Like you understand a lot more about the person using a metaphor like that. I've never heard of a person with a xenogender who wasn't neurodivergent. So you're not only being fucking transphobic, Hunter Avalon, you're also being ableist. I'm joking. That's a joke. That's a joke. That's a joke. Is it my internet or is the stream cutting for others too? Is the stream getting weird? My internet says it's okay. Honestly, perceiving yourself outside of the gender spectrum presented by society is kind of neurodivergent in and of itself. I don't know if that's actually the case. It's cutting here too. Okay, I guess it's me then. But it's okay. We're reaching the end anyway. I don't think I have a lot going on. What do you mean could it be the 60 FPS thing? Has it just started, or has it been this way the whole time? I thought you said mad gender. I got mad gender, yo. The problem I see is the more we try to explain gender expression to cis people and trans meds, the more they just want to shut their brain off and call us dumb snowflakes. I mean, I don't know. I think there are, okay, it just started. All right, yeah, I guess it's a temporary lag thing. Hopefully it'll get better. My camera might be being weird too. But yeah, like I would like to hope that I can continue to explain things. Like Hunter has said, if he hears a good argument, I don't know, maybe I'll just invite him to talk to me on Tuesday. Maybe I'll just message him. Maybe I'll just message him and be like, hey man, like I'm a non-binary person who has like this channel, like, can I come on your show and talk to you later this week? Maybe I'll just do that instead of waiting for him to see this video, because this video has given me the opportunity to think about it, to decide like what the kind of reactions to this are going to be. And then I could probably just carry myself in a conversation about this. I'm going to message him after we get off stream. I'm just going to go ahead and do that. I don't know him very well, but I am invested in seeing if I can persuade people. And I think that this is going to be a pretty easy one if he's willing to acknowledge that these same arguments have been used against people who he would now consider to be valid and correct. Becoming snowflake gender to spite them? Oh my god, true. He probably would chat about it. I hope so. I mean, I'm just a tiny creator, and I have never interacted with him before, I don't think. So I might just shoot my shot and tell him who I am and ask him if he wants to speak about it with me this week. If there's enough overlap with neurodivergence and trans people that as a therapist, my colleagues and I have said, if our state starts saying we need to report, we can pretty easily claim, I just thought they were neurodivergent. That's I hope that works for you, you know? Well, it's not about whether he's open to discussion, Winter Nightmare. It's more about, like, if he's open to discussion with some fucker who only has, like, 50 people in chat at any given time. Decoy Duck, with the gifted tier 1 subs, 5 gifted tier 1 subs. Thank you so much. Speaking of identifying as a doctor, 5 subs to celebrate sending my diss draft to my committee. Nice. That's awesome. So you're getting close to having your PhD? You're like, you've gotten your draft for your dissertation? That's fucking cool. Congratulations. I hope that your like defense goes well. Hello, Gayfesh. We just finished talking about Hunter Avalon and his anti-xenogender reactionary takes on Twitter. And I've decided that after stream, I'm going to message him and see if he would be willing to have a conversation with me on stream later this week or whatever. So, yes. Amazing. Drink water. A lot of snowflakes together are very dangerous. Yeah. Hunter Avalon is a complete piece of shit. Good luck with that. Is this another one of those situations where I should check with my friends about the lore before I get into it? Because what I discovered while watching this video is that Hunter Avalon is using arguments that can easily be used against binary trans people or non-binary people as the whole, and he's just arbitrarily decided that those kinds of people are normal. I knew about him doxing Keffel's live on stream and that he really doubled down in a nasty way when she called him out on it and was upset about it. Are you going to stream for Euro people again? Yeah, Vini, sorry. I usually, unless something comes up, like, you know, Christmas and New Year's Day were both on Sundays. Generally, Sundays are my stream day for the European time zones. So we start, again, unless there's something happening like, oh, I have a panel conversation on a Saturday night. We usually start at noon Central on Sundays. I would recommend a lore check. It's like, I'm familiar with the fact that he's not great, but I also just feel like I could explain this really easily. Like, it was not hard for me to come up with ways to counteract the arguments that he was making. So I want to be a debate bro, okay? I'm going to be a big boy debate bro. Do you have a typical stream schedule? Hell yeah. I have a very regular stream schedule. It's Tuesdays and Thursdays starting at 6 p.m. Central and Sundays starting at 12 p.m. Central. And you can join my Discord server to get the pings. That's going to be the most reliable way if you want to get pings. But you can also like hit subscribe and then hit the bell. That's another thing that you should do. If you're not already subscribed, you ought to be. And oh, no, yeah, I didn't stop doing them regularly on purpose. It was just the winter holiday was a little... It was the winter holiday, and then the immediate next weekend, I had a stream on Saturday night. Ever since that panel, it seems like background/lore checks might be more than worth it just to avoid further headaches. Right. Okay, so he calls himself a liberal. He isn't pro-trans being in sports or neo-genders. I think he's honest, but sometimes still has a conservative toolbox to look at things. But if he's the kind of guy who like lost a huge portion of his audience because he was honest about his beliefs, I think that he can be convinced, potentially. Neurotic Canary with the tier 1 sub, thank you so much. I appreciate you guys, and enjoy your dicks. Exactly, worth it, truly. Worth it. Thank you. Change that, go back here. Stream for the Desi peeps in the Indian subcontinent, Bangladesh. Yeah, what's the time zone difference there? It's gotta be like a 12-hour difference. There's only so much I can do. There's only so much I can do. Lore check, bonk. I feel like I need to have a bonk. It shows he's not a grifter and says what he actually believes. Unfortunately, still believes shitty things. I really do feel like I'm a convincing and persuasive person. So at the very worst case scenario, I'll have a fun time arguing with someone. I do need to do that. Yes, you do have to sub to get the dick. The time is typical. The streams are exceptional. True, that's true. We haven't even done phalloplasty talk today. I like how Vosh put it. Oh my god, pain. Saying that it's like nicknames, it might not be 100% accurate, but I think it'll work to gain more allies. Yeah, I mean, part of what I think is good about that is that it really elucidated that, like, it's not that serious. Like, it's really not that serious necessarily. We're engaging in gender for funsies. Did my stream totally freeze just then? Hold on. My computer's really struggling here. Okay, here we go. I thought that it died for a minute. I was like, fuck. Yeah, it's just not that serious. It's just like, it's like nicknames, like whatever. It's not required for you to fundamentally rethink how you consider gender to just use the terms that someone likes. He was super religious too, but now he's not. There is hope. Yeah. I think if you come at him genuinely and in good faith, he will probably do the same. Am I not one of the nicest, easiest people to get along with?
Trans woman says they are a woman.
Did you all saw that fucking debate panel? I am super patient and nice and very, very likable and charismatic. So
the same way that woman or man
I hope that we can have a good conversation.
It doesn't add up at all, and I don't think that my position.
I am playing the thing. Oh shit, my bad.
Fucking intense.
I don't have my headphones on.
Finally, when a
shut
trans woman says they are a woman.
Holy fucking shit! Thank you. Same with Will and Malcolm. I enjoyed the conversations with both Will and Malcolm. Like, I think that, like, this is something that I enjoy doing and that I'm good at doing. Nice. One of your previous conversations about surgeons has made me start researching where and who I'm going to for my GRS. Hell yeah. I know. Is it still? No, it's not. Okay. Johns Hopkins is good. Crane Center is good. And Bunk Clinic are good. Those are all, like, the ones that I would recommend looking into. IDK if there's a theory behind this, but people who are open to changing their opinion on things seem to move their accepted view in waves, in my experience, and it can be hard to tell if they're ready/open to change or learn. I guess that's fair. Like, if you can be persuaded to be less conservative, then you could hypothetically be persuaded to be more conservative as well. Not me checking every program running. Yeah, sorry, that was me. He sounds really annoying, TBH, very Shapiro energy. Well, if we talk about this, we're gonna start in a kind manner. He was reacting to Twitter and like, how could you call me a transphobe if da-da-da? Like, it's possible to have these conversations in a way that is much more chill. Shade, I'm in Ohio. Like, yeah, you have to travel for surgery a lot, like overwhelmingly the most of the time. Oh, I guess I don't know if you're talking about if you're gonna get I don't know if you're getting a vagina or not. If you're getting a dick, I would say you said dicks, and I was like, so I recommended the phalloplasty surgeons. But yeah, you do usually have to travel for bottom surgery. He was just very activated. I'm sure that there's a lot of people who think that I'm super fucking annoying, especially when I'm super. Peanut Butter Blondie says he will likely return the patient treatment. When he's an ass, it's usually with someone who deserves it nowadays. Usually. Yeah, I'm going to go ahead and message him after we get off. Excuse me. I thought there was going to be another one. I'm so burpy today. Oh, well. But I enjoyed going over that video. True, I'm in Texas, but I'm waiting for a vaginoplasty from a surgeon in California. Yeah, you're pretty much always going to have to travel for it. That's like one of the things that stopped me when I started to work on the paperwork for the bunk clinic. Was one of the things that you're meant to write down is like, who's the person you know in San Francisco? Like, is there someone who you're going to stay with here? And I'm like, I don't fucking actually know anyone in San Fran. I don't think. Maybe I do. No, I'm going to get rid of it. Oh, okay, yeah. I can't recommend any pussy surgeons. That's not my area of expertise. Drink a little bit more water. It sucks that when you turn the dicks emoji upside down, it mostly looks normal except for the S. That's pretty dumb. Was there anything else fun today that we wanted to talk about? Maybe I'll peruse Reddit real quick and see if there's any wholesome news before we wrap up for today and I go rescue my teen sibling from my partner. Wholesome news. Where is it? Any M&M tubes? Nope, I'm all out of M&M tubes. I thought that I had joined this subreddit. Interesting. If he is an ass to you, he's dead to me. Well, that's good to know. I can single-handedly destroy his career. Forwards and backwards, the dicks. Extra wide dicks. Hold on, I want to do one. Hold on. Yeah. That's what I wanted. Okay. Wait, why is this in wholesome news? What? It kind of looks like when people make ransom note memes with the Mario game titles. What if you had a debate partner for if or when you want to do more panels? Have one person talk while the other listens to the other side's arguments. It could help divide the pressure and make y'all much more effective. Well, yeah, I didn't know when I joined that panel that I was going to be the only one arguing my points. And that's part of why I'm like, okay, I'm going to check people's backgrounds before I have conversations with them. Because if there had been just one other person on that panel who agreed with me, even if it was still like 4 or 5 people against us, it would have taken pressure off. There's a nonprofit in the Bay Area that houses trans people for the duration of surgery recovery. I can't remember what it's called. Give me a sec. Thank you, Foxgloved. I know that there are also like in the surgery groups, like there will be just trans people who will put you up in their house, like, but I don't want to put someone out also, like, I'm probably going to need to have someone staying with me to care for me afterward, because it is like a pretty major surgery where like there are 3, I just thought about this recently. When you get phalloplasty, you wake up with 3 active surgical wound sites. There's the one on your arm, there's the one on your leg, and the one in your groin. Like, it probably is a huge, difficult thing to recover from because, like, you might think, like, oh, it's not like they're going inside and removing my inner organs or anything. That seems like it would be way more invasive and harmful and take a lot longer to recover. But in reality, it's like 3 separate surgical sites. Did this Reddit just get, like, taken over? Because I thought that I was subscribed to r/wholesome news, and then just now I had to go look for it, and there are only, like, shitty posts here, or, like, there's a couple of shitty posts that are not wholesome news, and they're all older posts. So it kind of looks like this Reddit got, like, taken over and hollowed out. Like, they deleted a bunch of stuff and only left, like, some negative posts. Like, look at this. I'm on new, and it says this post from 3 months ago is the most recent post, and that's not the case, because I was in this Reddit before. And it's also super not wholesome. It's Florida Medical Board votes to ban gender-affirming care for transgender minors. And then, like, here's another post. This was posted from 5 months ago. A Filipino woman suffers unprovoked attack in New York. Am I thinking of uplifting news? I thought it was wholesome news. Maybe it's uplifting news. Oh my god, I am having such bad cramps. Come on, dude. Ow. Okay, I have visited this one before. I guess I just went to a different subreddit. Wholesome should be wholesome? Yeah, I mean... Daniel says, my sibling had a phalloplasty. It's a huge deal. They had a bunch of strictures and had to go back. Still very happy with the outcome. Yeah, I am not personally interested in getting urethral lengthening, which is... that's where the biggest complications... I mean, not the biggest, like... The most common form of complication in a phalloplasty is involved with trying to build a longer urethra, and that's where the strictures and the fistulas tend to happen. I've had an organ removed laparoscopically, and it didn't feel too invasive. They just use a couple little arms, and it only left 4 small scars that look almost like freckles. Yeah, it just seems like the opposite. It seems like... And that is actually... I was thinking of, like, hysterectomies, which are done laparoscopically. I've known plenty of people who have a hysterectomy, and they're like, I didn't really feel that bad. But then, yeah, something like a phalloplasty is extremely intensive on the body and hard to recover from, so... My organs. Okay, let's look at uplifting news. Let's see if there's anything good in here before we take off. Oh, I mean, that's kind of sweet. Retired astronaut Buzz Aldrin marries longtime love on his 93rd birthday. That's pretty cool. See you later, Violet. Have a good night. Sleep well. Holy shit. I just have so many body things happening today. Oh yeah, we looked at the news last week of the dolphins swimming in the... earlier this week about the dolphins swimming in the Bronx River. That was really sweet. Yeah, we're close to being done. I basically just, like, left my teen sibling with my partner and was like, here, you guys hang out and play video games or do whatever you're gonna do, and I'll come pick them up in a little while. So I want to hop off here before too long. I'm also having, like, crazy period cramps right now. Like, it's not a good time. I'm just used to having to function through it anyway. The hormonal imbalances after the hysterectomy are the worst problem. Well, you don't have to have your ovaries taken out. You can have a hysterectomy and leave your ovaries because that's what causes the hormone problems. Anyway. Ouch. I'm just very uncomfy. First wild kiwi egg laid in Wellington in over a century. This is good news. Kiwis are like the size of a chicken, by the way. Oh my god, I'm in so much pain. Okay. Yeah, so a wild kiwi egg has been laid for the first time in more than 100 years. Wait, what? A wild kiwi egg has been laid for the first time in 100 years. Like, no, last November, some brown kiwi were released into the wild. They've been rehabilitating these birds in captivity, I guess. So we're wanting to know that they're happy in the wild. Some of these birds have been in a captive environment for most of their life. The birds were all accounted for at present, eating well, and then the exciting discovery, the egg found in a recent checkup. This is our first wild kiwi egg on those hills in a very long time. For the team and for hundreds of landowners, the locals, and the, I don't want to butcher pronouncing this indigenous name, and the indigenous folks who have supported this project, it's some pretty sweet news for the new year. The last recorded kiwi in the region was in the Tararua range in about the mid-1870s. As our kiwi managers will tell us, you can't count your kiwi until they hatch, but it is a significant moment and something that we're very excited about. That's pretty great. I'm excited to hear that. I love doing positive environmental news on this stream. Yeah, you think a kiwi is the size of a tennis ball because that's how big a kiwi fruit is. Hold on, let's do this. That's a kiwi. That's how big kiwi. And then their eggs are like the entire size of their body, basically. They lay gigantic eggs. Yeah. They're huge. Oh yeah, and here's what their eggs look like when they're inside them. But it's like a chicken. Yeah, I mean, they're not small. They're adorable though, right? Yeah. That's good stuff. Oh, man. Are we all really like catching up on the size of kiwis? I remember being really shocked when I first learned that myself. But yeah, they're very large. What a unit, right? What a unit. Okay, I have to go because I just need to like walk around and walk this off. It's not going away, these cramps. So I'm gonna work on that and take some ibuprofen and hope that I don't feel really mad and upset all the rest of the day because this is really uncomfortable. So thank you all for hanging out with me, having a good time with me today. I appreciate you hitting the like button, and when you do that, that's always a cool thing that you do. And I love it when you talk to me in chat because that makes me feel like I have friends. So again, appreciate y'all. And as far as I know, I'll be seeing you on Tuesday night.